Welcome to the Couch Potato Sports Show, your internet radio home for all sports news and talk. Join Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio, and the best co-host anyone can ask for, Cuervo. We cover it all from NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, as well as indoor football and high school sports. So let's do this. Here's Sonny Clark.
All right, everybody, welcome into the Couch Potato Sports Show. It is me, Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio here on our Sunday afternoon tradition in the offseason of the NFL. And guys, I got the show ready today, and I didn't have a lot that I couldn't find to talk about today. Because there's so much going on. The NFL Combine's going on. I don't know how many people are watching it, but all week it's been Combine after Combine, post after post. This guy's doing this. This offensive line under 5.0 for the offensive lineman running the football. And guys, I have tried. I have tried because to me the Combine does nothing. Now, I get a lot, people who are smarter than me, obviously. I get that people look at the Combine and go, this is the next guy. But I've seen so many guys that have been talked about in the Combine come out to be a complete and utter bust. So I'm missing the excitement. Sometimes I'm missing the excitement about the Combine. I'm missing the excitement on why people think it's great. I'm missing all of that because it doesn't do anything for me. What gets to me is not even a rookie player in year number one unless they are guys that step up. Jamar Chase comes to mind. Guys that step up, be big-time players. Now, again, those are too many that are few and far between. I mean, you don't get too many rookies coming in and just ripping the meat from the bone in the NFL. It's a total different speed. Everything is different about the game than what they played on college, especially the speed. And what happens to me is that knowing that it's going to take time for a rookie to go, and I'm not interested. I'm not interested in the Combine. I'm not interested. Granted, I see where all this does. I see how it gets you set to get drafted. I've seen guys say, screw the Combine, I'll do my own workout, and you can judge me from there. I've seen all kinds of stuff, but yet I've seen too many players not make big names of themselves as a rookie compared to not. Again, I'm not saying there are not rookie standouts in the NFL. But I will say they're not at the prime position of quarterback. And if and when they are prone to mistakes. They are not seasoned. They don't know the speed. And before you know it, if someone takes off immediately, those defensive coordinators are all over those rookie quarterbacks to where they're not successful. It's very rare to see that. Now, a Jamar Chase, a guy that's a complete talent, has had his quarterback in the NFL for 2 years. The fact that guy is a superstar as a rookie surprises me not. But I will say this. For the most part, remember how many are drafted. Remember, 32 number one picks. There are very few within the number one picks that step up and become that guy that you've got to focus a whole offense or defense around. You just don't get it. And those players don't start developing until a lot of times year 3. Sometimes you'll see a quarterback step up in year 2. Obviously, we got Joe Burrow doing what he has done. But you get what I'm talking about as we move forward. That's why the Combine doesn't do anything for me. They can do all that speed. They can do all that. But when they start in the NFL, you can have the fastest speed in the world. But what's going to happen when you get your ass handed to you at the line? That's what I want to see. I don't want to see you straight runs. I don't care about it. How many times are there go routes when you possibly should have one in the NFL, especially the coverage that they got, or one guy that can get burned all the time, and they don't even run a go route? A lot of times those routes are contested. I want to see more of that. If the combine had more of the guys that are hitting guys, trying to get off of the line, then maybe I would watch it. But a guy running a 40-yard dash does zero for me. And maybe that's me. Maybe it's because I'm a jerk. It could be. But no rookie impresses me. Jamar Chase, yeah. But I mean, I look at all the rookies that were drafted. I only see one that's even standing out, doing anything worth a nickel. Now, granted, a lot of them are covered, but those first-round draft picks, the ones that are most successful are the offensive line. And guys, I've been telling, especially where I live, I'm in the Dallas area. The Dallas Cowboys have to draft offensive line this year. They should have done it last year. I'm not going to get in the back and forth on, oh, no, they got the guy who was good. No, last year they should have drafted an offensive lineman. You got Dak Prescott coming off a major injury, and you don't even decide to protect him. Congratulations. That's a great move. But here's my main thing about the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, if they don't go offensive line, and if they don't really start working in the offseason on getting some more offensive linemen, it don't matter about Dak Prescott's money. Everybody will blame it on the money, but listen, Dak Prescott can only do so much unless they're going to start protecting this guy in the proper way instead of getting a bunch of retreads that are not going to do him any good. Every year we see Dallas Cowboys offensive line on paper the best in the NFL. It's not. So the Dallas Cowboys have some work to do, especially on the offensive line. I want to see those drills that show an offensive lineman. Now, I'll watch that. Now, I'm not going to stop my day and go to the TV and pull up and watch it. No, I'll find something. But there's not a lot of that. It's always the 40-yard dash, the offensive line. And the 40, listen, how many times are the offensive line going to dash down the field 40 yards down the field? It's just not there. It's just not needed. And who gives a rat's fat behind on how fast an offensive lineman can run the 40? Means nothing to me, especially after watching this, especially after watching teams, especially after watching guys just go away. This is what we get. So it means that the combine, you can fall in love with a guy that's actually not really doing anything to maybe help your team, and you can end up getting the wrong guy because he can run the 40 and 4.3, 4.5, whatever the damn number that's good. Doesn't mean anything to me. I want guys that are going to help your football team. And it will take 2 years. And if your expectations of your draft picks are they come in and automatically start contributing to your team, you're not watching football. You don't know football. You shouldn't expect that kind of thing. Jamar Chases are few far between. It just happened to get lucky where the Bengals had that guy and that opportunity to make that work out when the Bengals should have went offensive line. Now, granted, it worked out great for them, especially with Jamar Chase and the way, but I'm talking about one rookie. How many other rookies? Are there 5 rookies that you can look at and go, by God, they made such an impact? I don't know of them. Now, granted, I might not be paying attention. But rookies very seldom go out and make that impact of be that impact of a player. To me, it's boring. And sitting watching combine is even worse. I mean, do you care about an offensive lineman that can sprint down, do 40 under 5? I don't. But, that's just me. But that being said, of course, that's the name of the show. After a week's absence.
You can't see me.
Oh, what's this? And not only that, not bad on being late, fashionably late. It is the fine co-host of this program. It's Cuervo. Good morning, my friend. Good to see you.
Hi, Sonny.
Hey, I can see you this week.
Can you see me though?
How you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm surprised today. I mean, because I didn't expect you to be here today, which is always good. Good to see old Cuervo be here.
Well, you don't give me for very long.
Huh? Not very long. How long is not very long?
Probably until the top of the next hour, maybe a little
top
bit
of the next hour, which means about 50 minutes. So that being said, of course, that's the name of this show. I'm going to let you lead if there's something that you want to talk about. Now, I got 25 slides, so after you go, I still got plenty to talk about.
Oh boy!
Okay. Yeah, it's been good. I love getting the slides because they give you something to talk about, especially here in the off season. Not a lot to talk about as far as that kind of stuff is concerned. So it brings up things that we can actually talk about. But that being said, is there anything on top of your agenda immediately that you want to talk about?
Well, considering you got 25 slides, Sonny, you're probably gonna cover it anyways. But I do listen, even though I don't get in right away on the show. I do listen some, and I know you're talking combine right now.
Oh God, I can't believe I am.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. It's not the worst thing, but I think it does prove over time. It's been proven that the combine is not the end all be all for these guys, right? This is just to kind of show a little bit of where they're at as far as preparation and conditioning and stuff like that. So, I think though there's too many teams and evaluators and scouts and things that will base their opinion of these guys just off of their combine.
Yes.
And I've learned to stop doing that. And I do like the 40-yard dash, by the way. And people like watching the 40-yard dash because it's entertaining, as in not necessarily, I like to see people run fast. But it's almost, there's guys that you hear about and you want to see how fast they are going to run or will a record be broken?
Right.
So I think that's what we're in. That's what people like to watch the combine for, in my opinion, to see certain guys and to see if any records will be broken.
Got it.
So that's just what I think.
So not necessarily what you are looking at as far as maybe taking it to the next step, like bringing on a guy that's going to be an impact player. So you're not watching for that, like I'm not, because there are only so many Jamar Chases that have that kind of an impact as a rookie that you can sit here and depend on. Now, granted, I don't know if they should have even depended on Jamar Chase to be the guy that he was last year, but they just got lucky. They got the guy to be the guy. And the relationship that they got going with Joe Burrow and everything was huge for them. So I thought that was huge. Now, that being said, last week you were not here. Last week, I had a lot to say about your guy that was the former coach of the Chicago Bears, making his way over to Kansas City. Interestingly enough, that relationship, Andy Reid and everything, goes back years and years. It goes to Kansas City, goes back to Philadelphia. So there's a lot of love going on right there. But I see this situation, and maybe it's because people call me a pessimist, probably rightfully so. But even though, and I don't know if you've seen the Eric Bieniemy video I had last week, but about how they're talking about how people talk to each other as coaches and players, and how they're not supposed to take it personally. And if you're a professional, you can get around it. Yes, that was what was basically said by Eric Bieniemy. And I'm sitting here thinking, because I hate the superstars, okay? The superstars that think that everything revolves around them. But I didn't necessarily think that was a Patrick Mahomes, the superstar that thinks everything revolves around him. His play on the field kind of demands that more so than a LeBron James in the NBA, how everything's just supposed to go around him. Oh, I had a lot to say about him last week. And still got something else to say too, because he's who he is. He's LeBron James. But when you see Eric Bieniemy and the situation, I think there's still a conflict between Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes. I think that's there. I think that was real. There was a lot of reporting on it from really good, viable sources that was a strained relationship. But I also see what's going on today as far as the African American coaches. Now, granted, he didn't get one of those head coaching jobs. Could you imagine if the Kansas City Chiefs decided to fire Eric Bieniemy because of what was going on? Maybe because there is a rift between Patrick Mahomes, and maybe was he not fired, and maybe Nagy was brought in case next year it kind of starts over again.
I mean, I think that's a possibility. I'm not going to rule that out, Sonny. But a part of me just wants to say that Andy Reid kind of felt bad for Nagy because he really wasn't getting any opportunities to coach anywhere else. And he's like, all right, I'll bring you back.
He felt bad for Matt Nagy. I don't know. Did he feel bad? I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, the only place that I knew or I had heard about Nagy possibly getting a job was, I want to say it was the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions of all teams.
That's the only one. Well, I don't know if I heard that, but I thought about what was going on in the NFL.
There was rumors
we're going to start all over again, and after the firing of Flores, maybe he would get the opportunity, depending on who they hired, which we all know who he hired, and how much, if that had to have a change, he could just slide right in there because of his quote-unquote experience of a head coach with the Chicago Bears.
Right. And I mean, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's an NFC North rival, and those teams well. So, but I don't know. I just think that when it comes to the whole Bieniemy Mahomes thing, one thing that really bothers me about it, Sonny, is I can see when, like, say, for example, the whole thing between, and you may not like this example, but I'm going to use it. Like in the thing in Pittsburgh with Antonio Brown and Juju, right?
Okay.
Where there was bad blood between them. They were kind of going back and forth with each other about, who's making plays and who's getting the ball and all that stuff. I'm not going to say that that's supposed to happen. In a way, though, sometimes those things just happen, right? Sometimes those things just happen. But when it's a coach to player situation, that I don't think there's room for that, Sonny.
Right.
Eric Bieniemy is supposed to be his, not mentor, but somebody that's supposed to help guide him. Yes, he's been a Super Bowl, he's won a Super Bowl, been to 2 of them. You can say, well, he doesn't need guiding and mentoring and all that. Maybe on the field he knows what he's doing, but there's so many other ways that Eric Bieniemy can be there for Mahomes as a man, as a coach, as a person, and for those two to have the conflict that they're having with each other, that's just a bad look. It's just, I just don't like how it looks.
Well, in that, what you just talked about, it just popped in my mind. if you remember correctly, the Matt Nagy situation wouldn't be much better, obviously, with Nick Foles and that situation that unfolded. That, yes, I called. Yes, I told you it was a conflict. Yes, that's exactly what it was. And the love affair, it's like Rams bashing, antlers, but I just kind of wonder how that works out over in Kansas City. Well, no, I don't. Let's be honest. Okay, if Patrick Mahomes and Matt Nagy doesn't get along, Matt Nagy will be gone regardless of the relationship that he has with Andy Reid or not. The $500 million man, has no problem with asserting himself if he needed to, and I think that's one of the situations that is going on right now with Eric Bieniemy and him. Right now, Patrick Mahomes went back and looked at what happened this year, and he decided that there were some problems, and somehow it got leaked out that there were those problems in the last 3 weeks of the season going into the playoffs. So lots of things going on that get leaked out there, and again, credible reporters were reporting that there was a real problem, and Bieniemy comes back and says, well, he needs to not take it too personally. But listen,
too late for that.
Yeah, exactly. You know how much I hate that guy, right? I want that guy to be able to be coached. But if it's Patrick Mahomes, that's a total different thing in reality. Because not only is the fact that he brought the Kansas City Chiefs a championship, he's beloved by the fans. Unlike if you take a look at LeBron James is not really beloved in reality. Now, he's got his fans, don't get me wrong, but as a whole, I don't think he's beloved as much as a Patrick Mahomes in reality is in Kansas City.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just think because you know what you're getting with, Mahomes and, well, you know what you're getting with both of those guys. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing when it comes to LeBron, because LeBron has been known to, make situations better for himself. As where, let's be honest, Mahomes, those receivers on that team in Kansas City probably wouldn't even know who they were if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes.
Only one that was actually a difference was obviously the speedster in Tyreek Hill. But outside of that, you're absolutely right. Except maybe, depending on how that relationship would have been with a different quarterback with Travis Kelce, how that whole thing works out.
I think Kelce would be an average tight end. He would not be at the top, like one of the elite tight ends. He'd be an average guy.
I would think so. I mean, because of the fact that they lean on each other so much is unbelievable. Hey, now you're getting the beard. You're getting the itching going on. See, now you got a real beard. You're doing real good. Work through it. Now, the LeBron James situation. I mean, we go back to this, and we've seen this many times, Cuervo. Okay, LeBron will come out and he'll say something. This is one of the stupid things he'll say. And this is where the old school really clashes with the new school. There needs to be a soundproof wall or something. I would even consider having no fans in the arena. Anything that will help us players avoid these verbal confrontations and altercations. I just can't take it. I mean, and by the way, those things on the side of this picture is Sonny Clark talking here, okay? This guy just needs to shut up. I mean, can this guy ever just man up and be a real basketball player? Because let's be honest, Cuervo, you have never, ever heard the big names in basketball ever say anything, first of all, about the fans, about the noise, about the verbal confrontations that were going off of. In fact, I think, Michael Jordan would get off on that and lay down 60 on the team that, has the fans doing that. See, that's the difference. It's a man-up situation for LeBron James, and yet he is out there again. And this is one of the reasons, Cuervo, when you take a look at LeBron James, why people hate him, why people can't stand it, why they think he is the pat on the head, kind of guy. You have to keep LeBron James happy, or And I think this game, this attitude The Lakers are sick of it. And I think the Lakers can give a rat's fat ass where he ends up going, and they hope he goes next year. That's what I think.
And and that's the difference between LeBron and Patrick Mahomes, because that you use that
too.
comparison, is because you said it. People below Mahomes is beloved in Kansas City.
Oh God, yeah.
LeBron in LA, not so much.
Not so much.
I walk around LA, Sonny. I've well, I wouldn't say I walk around LA, but I'm around there closer. Out here in Southern California, you really don't see a lot of LeBron James jerseys walking around. You don't.
I think that's interesting.
You see, what you see more of? Kobe.
Magic.
You see some Magic, but Kobe is still the guy.
Kobe, yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
and guys that are no nonsense, guys that could give us stuff about anything, guys that will find motivation out of nothing. And LeBron James is only motivated by himself, and or if Matthew Stafford's in I didn't get a chance to get this one, but there was a quick video that was up that Matthew Stafford was in there. He says, I have to make sure I show up if you're in the arena. Well, you better find something to get you up off the arena, because as far as what I'm looking at, last I looked at, the Lakers are on the outside looking in to get in the playoffs, and if they are in, they're in the 8th or 7th spot that they slipped into.
Right.
But so you need to find motivation. Maybe they need to pay Matthew Stafford to show up at least at all the home games, and maybe LeBron will be there, and maybe they can get in the playoffs. But I even think the Lakers right now, Cuervo, could give a rat's fat ass if they make it into the playoffs. And can you believe we're even thinking that about a franchise as storied as the Lakers, that they don't even care if they get into the playoffs because of their personnel?
Yeah, and look, LeBron, and I'm going to defend LeBron like just a smidget here. LeBron's not the only guy that the Lakers and the fans that are fed up with.
I get it. AD.
Well, AD gets, he's got his injury problems, but Russell Westbrook is the other guy that Laker fans are just tired of.
Right.
But
and correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they bring Westbrook in at the encouragement of LeBron James, or am I thinking wrong? And they brought him in, and because I think anybody gets brought into that team without someone talking to LeBron James.
I think there was a little bit of recruiting going on there, if I remember right.
Got it.
But there definitely was, you know what? Yeah, I think LeBron had something to do with it, because, last year it was about guys that he thought didn't fit well or didn't want to play with or whatever. So the Lakers shipped them off, and they made the deal for Westbrook and Anthony Davis. I mean, they were able to get both guys via trades. So, but that's the problem with LeBron, man. Like it just feels like after 2-3 years of being in a place, he overstays his welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's like it's just a mutual parting.
Yes.
It happened twice in Cleveland. Miami. I'll be honest. I mean, when they were talking about not 3, not 4, not 5, it should have happened.
Oh God, yeah. Especially after the first year, even though they lost in the playoffs his first year, that was a good indication on what you could see for the next few years that were coming, and it just didn't happen that way.
Yeah, no, it didn't, because LeBron overstayed his welcome, and Pat Riley got fed up with his crap. So, it was time to move on from LeBron, because you notice, I think if I remember right, Wade and Bosch stayed on the team.
Yeah, Wade and
LeBron was gone.
And Bosch was injured, so he just stayed to work out his contract and stuff like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he got sick. I forget what he wound up. He had some sort of like illness that he was that kept him out of basketball. He never came back. So, but I don't know if you heard the comment that one Sir Charles Barkley made.
I remember laughing about it. Remind me what it was, because he had something to say about it.
Okay, so not necessarily about LeBron. It was more about Aaron Rodgers, my other favorite.
That's
athlete.
right. That's right. Now I
And,
remember about his hair. Yeah. Well,
so Charles, and I bring this up because I think we have talked about LeBron and Aaron Rodgers being the same guy. Like LeBron is the Aaron Rodgers of the NBA.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers is the LeBron of the NFL, right? Those two guys are kind of the same person. Charles Barkley made the comment that Aaron Rodgers is, and it's same. It goes for LeBron too. Rodgers is like the pretty girl in the room that you have to remind her every day how pretty she is.
Yes.
You have to remind her about that.
Mm-hmm.
And so and I feel LeBron is the same way. You have to remind him. He's like the girl that you have to tell her every day that she's pretty, or else, she's not happy. So
she needs that ego boost. So, and well, I'll tell you, speaking of ego boost, how about this? Oh yeah. I always can't wait to hear this guy if he's able to get in. It is one, the only Jonathan. Jonathan, good to see you. Look at me. He's leaning back there like he don't have a care in the world.
Hey, real quick, Sonny, that picture on the left where you see Jonathan on the phone, that's him talking to you saying, stop it with the comments, all right?
So,
actually,
how you doing?
I think we were talking about the Lions that day, and I was saying they stink.
Could have been. Stay on point. Come on, Sonny. Stay on point, Sonny.
Yeah. You guys will never forget the phrase "they stink." Now I've seared it into your mind.
I remember the hand motions and everything. So
absolutely. It needs
I see you got a beard going now. It's nice to be retired.
It definitely is. It definitely is.
He's the young Chris Kringle, skinny still. Give him a couple of years with his wife's cooking, and he'll turn into the real. Like me, I'm going to be the greatest Santa. As soon as this is all gray, I'm going to be the best Santa Claus ever, man.
I was going to say, Sonny, I'd like to see a full beard on you.
I can do it. I can do it. I've done it. It's just like, you're doing this, that just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But, if there's enough money in it being Santa, I'll probably do it. You watch. I'll give it a whirl. So, but
Santa, the NFL, just don't go to Philly.
How did you come to get this Sunday off? You're usually doing something. How did you get this day off?
I've been on vacation from the end of college football till the start of the minor league baseball season. I'm on vacation.
Okay.
So I've been bouncing all around, going and seeing people. Last weekend I was in Nashville for the outdoor hockey game.
I saw that pictures.
Yeah.
That was a great experience. It was even better to hear a bunch of hockey writers realize, there's a real fan base in Tampa. Because, we were at Nissan Stadium. That seats, I think they said it was 69,000 was in the house that night. It was a sellout. And probably at least 30,000 of it was Tampa fans. It was great. It was a great showing. It was a great game, great environment. As I tell people all the time, I love Southern hockey, because you had two fan bases there for two very good teams, two teams that played some extremely chippy games last year and last Saturday night. There were two fights in the game, and there wasn't any animosity in the stands.
Wow.
It was one of the best environments to be around. So, I've done some college baseball games, just waiting for the baseball season to start, just trying to buy time and the dead time of the year.
Are the minor leagues guys playing? I know they're not under a CBA with the Major League Baseball. Are the minor league teams playing?
They're going to start on time. I believe, opening day is April 4th or April 5th.
Okay. I know about obviously what's going on regarding the lockout and everything with that. It's not really a lot to talk about. It's all about money, and the rest of it's just forget about it. As soon as that gets figured out, that we'll get some games. Now, since I got both of you here, I want to put up a video that I put up last week, and I thought it was, and I think we're getting to the phase where we're seeing how college guys are coming into the professional leagues, regardless if it's baseball, basketball, football. I don't know much as far as hockey is concerned, but more the fact that, you know, there's some attitudes going on in basketball right now. I mean, obviously, March Madness is going to be a big story, and we're going to probably jump into those, not this week, but within a couple of weeks as March Madness extends into April. That being said, lots of things as far as, you know, Juwan Howard. We kind of talked a little bit about it, but instead of Michigan, let's hear from the coach from Michigan.
Oh, my God.
Have you heard that?
Oh, my God, I have. And I do got to comment on that, since that's not insulting to anybody. That, to me, would be the biggest farce, joke, ridiculous nature of anything I've ever heard of. We've already taught these poor 18-year-olds that when you know, you're told to go to class and you don't like it, you can leave. We've already told these kids, if you're not happy, you can do something else. We've already told these kids that it's hard to hold them accountable, and now we're going to tell them to not man up and walk down a line on somebody who's kicked your butt and have enough class to shake their hand is utterly ridiculous. So if the president said it, I think he's full of it. If the best coach in America said it, I think that gets me way more than this incident, because we're already teaching these kids nothing, and then we're going to do something like that. Those are the moments when I just think that you learn the most about people.
And we're living in a day and age. Man up is obviously one of the words that I hear, you know, in class. I mean, we were getting to the area. We had the Juwan Howard. There was one just this past week. I forget who it was. Not as hot, you know, big up on the names, but guys just not going down the line. You know, parts of me gets the understanding that you don't want to shake the guy's hand that just handed your ass to him to you on your silver platter there. But sometimes, like Izzo says, you think about it, this is the time where you square up. This is the time where you become a better person and realize who you are. And Cuervo, we're seeing a lot of, you know, catering to kids, not to man up, not to be, you know, not to be all you can be as a person, never mind a man, but just as a person as well.
Yeah. So Izzo was talking about the Juwan Howard incident in that video, if I remember.
That's what he's talking about. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the thing that kind of caught my ear the most, though, about what he said, and it wasn't even about the whole, like, you know, we're going to, you know, we teach these kids to, if they don't like something, don't do it. If they don't, you know, they don't want to go to class, that's all true. And I'm not disagreeing with that. But I think at the end, when he had mentioned, I forget exactly how he said it, but when he said that when stuff like that happens, that's when we find out who the real person is. That's what caught me the most, because when you think about it, it's very true. You know, you think about it, it's almost like with NFL teams or NHL teams or you know, no team is perfect, right? But when you're winning, we look high, we look way past whatever flaws those teams have.
Yep.
But the minute they start losing, whenever adversity happens, whenever bad things start happening, that's when all that stuff starts to surface back up. And I think that applies, as you know, to people too. We like to look past certain things about certain people. All right, when all is good and everything positive is happening, whether it's, you know, winning championships or whatever. But the minute that stops happening, that's when we start focusing on the negative stuff, and we start focusing on the bad, and instead of, even when things are going well, how can we get better? We don't think about that, though, or people don't think about that, and
Nope.
then it turns into, we're just going to sweep that under the rug. And I think, with that Juwan Howard situation, I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm just saying, what's going to happen when if this happens again, where teams are calling timeout, and you got to learn to just, don't it's a timeout. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm like trying to think of how to say it, but yeah, was it very sportsmanlike to take a timeout in that situation? Yeah, you can argue maybe not. I mean, they already had the game won, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they did.
And then they take the timeout to kind of rub it in. Had Juwan Howard just let it go, they're like, okay, you want to take timeout? Okay, cool. Maybe we're talking about the Wisconsin coach, like, wow, what a dick move.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, instead, we're talking about Juwan Howard and his reaction, and how he swung at one of the Wisconsin coaches, instead of like, man, did you guys catch the end of that Wisconsin-Michigan game? What a dick move by the Wisconsin coach. Game was already won, and they call timeout. You know what I mean? That's like an NFL team. You're up 10 points, and then they kick a field goal at the end of the game. Like, wow, really?
Yep.
So whose character are we judging more in this situation? Obviously, Juwan Howard, because of his reaction.
Well, his reaction, which is a reaction that should have got him fired. Now, granted, suspended for the rest of the year. That was only 5 games. So, frankly, that was a joke suspension in reality. But just also, Jonathan, I don't know how you feel about, basketball per se or anything else, but when you got a guy going off on another guy, granted, the Wisconsin guy kind of stopped him, put his hand, quote unquote, put his hands on. Listen, from where I'm from, when someone puts their hands on you, that means there was a fisticuffs. Not a guy that was just trying to stop and try to explain himself, and then that gets blown out of proportion like it was something big. So, but when you got a guy coming over the top, because that was a haymaker coming that way, although it was open hand, Juwan Howard's hands are probably pretty rock hard. That was meant to cause some pain. So I don't know. I'll ask Jonathan. Jonathan, is this a fireable offense by Juwan Howard, or what he got should be enough? My thinking is that it just didn't say anything. It just said the next person that does it is just going to get suspended.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to find a reason to care about this. Like,
look, one of my good friends is a Michigan fan, so we had this conversation.
Yeah, you are good friends with me. I'm a Michigan fan.
Yeah, right. And I'm tired of, honestly, like I'm kind of tired of it. Here's the whole situation. Wisconsin puts in backups. Michigan full court presses the backups. Wisconsin calls a timeout. Michigan's annoyed by the timeout. Wisconsin's annoyed by the full court press. So no matter what, that handshake line was already going to be set. There was already going to be animosity, right? Juwan Howard decides he's not going to shake Greg Gard's hand. Okay, like how many times has Coach K walked past somebody? We know, we don't attack Coach K or Tom Izzo or Jim Boeheim or Roy Williams or any of these guys who have walked past people, or Coach K who wants to lecture opposing players because, you celebrated in a way that I found to be demeaning to my team. I'm sorry you lost.
Yeah, you got your ass beat.
Like my issue was with Greg Gard, because he easily could have just let the situation go. Juwan Howard didn't want to shake my hand. Okay, whatever. Right? Could have just walked right on by and let it be. But he felt the need to address the situation. Okay? He didn't have to do that. So Juwan Howard doesn't create the problem. All right? They both did something at the end of the game that annoyed each other. whatever. They could have. Greg Gard could have just let it go. Been an adult, been like, you know what? A, I already know Juwan Howard's got a temper. B, clearly he's not in the mood for this.
Yeah, exactly.
But he felt the need to pop there Juwan Howard, right? Who is a 6'9" former NBA player, okay? Who just last year, during a game, threatened to kick the head coach of Maryland's ass. Like, this guy clearly has a temper. Let's not poke the bear.
Yeah.
Poke the bear. You know, Juwan Howard says he put his hands on him. Sure, whatever. Greg Gard initiated a physical contact to stop Juwan Howard from progressing down the handshake. Okay? And Juwan Howard was probably going to shake everybody else's hands.
Yes.
Right? So, like he just didn't like Greg Gard in that moment. Oh, well. Okay? My problem became that Greg Gard refused to let it die. He wanted to keep this conversation going and prove his point to Juwan Howard, to the point where it already annoyed Juwan Howard became angry, to the point where the teams got involved, to the point where a Wisconsin assistant shoved 2 Michigan players, and then Juwan Howard slaps the guy. So we're mad at Juwan Howard for slapping a guy who just shoved 2 college athletes. Like, to me, the whole thing is, it's a bad look regardless. It's a bad situation. Everybody puts an egg on their face and move on. But, one of Duke's assistant coaches did not shake the head coach of North Carolina's hands last night in the handshake line.
Yep, I saw that. Brought this back up.
Nobody made a massive deal. You still got, you're like, okay, yeah, he's mad at him. And everybody's like, well, why is he mad at him? Well, he's mad at him for when they were in North Carolina and the student section chanted, F you, Coach K. And Hubert Davis didn't stop the student section from a chant.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Like, a head coach's job is to control the crowd, the players, and everything else now. Like, the whole thing's ridiculous. There's a whole lot of people who
part of the game. I mean, my God, this is what sports is. Listen, I've been in the fan section in Michigan in the Big House. You think that they were just hollering out your roses and petals to the other team? No. See, that's my problem, and that's one of the problems that I have with LeBron James. Will you just shut up? I mean, will you just man up, be a man, play the damn game instead of acting like you're all offended and, if you have that much of a mental problem, we are now have to be mentally aware of somebody's feelings, then LeBron James needs to go see a counselor because this is part of the game. And if he can't hack it, then he needs to go away. And now, the other part of it, I do think Juwan Howard needs to be fired in. It wasn't just the hands. It was what you said. This guy won't shut up, will he? I mean, he's going to go after Maryland's coach and kick his ass. There's obviously a problem that this guy coaching this team. Not only that, they weren't very good with him as the head coach. What's his name?
Oh, this is Daisy.
Daisy. Hi, Daisy. Hey, love me some Kitty Moose. Don't have one.
She's about as old as you, Sonny.
So, poor thing. In cat years. Do they have cat years like dog years? Is that?
Yeah, I think it's 9.
It's not. Oh, well, 9 lives. Yeah. Oh, gee. All right. Yeah. Sonny misses the obvious.
She's like 15 or 16. She's been around for a while.
All right. That's it. Let's get to some football because, guys, we got a lot to talk about in football. And I want to start in Arizona. And the reason why I want to start with Arizona is because of Kyler Murray. Now, we all know the backstory. Right, the backstory about him scrubbing and everything, and like finding out the reason, that, all that stuff. There's more to the Kyler Murray story that came out just this past week. This guy, I don't know what's wrong. And up on the, we got to look out for his feelings. We get this coming from Kyler Murray. I might just say fuck it and go play in the Major League Baseball. Now, my question is this: if you're the Arizona Cardinals, that's bothersome. I could get where that could be bothersome for the Arizona Cardinals having to deal with Kyler Murray not being, having his head in the game. In reality, let's be honest, that's what this is. And so much so that he now brings up what we kind of talked about, the baseball, situation. I don't know what's going to go on with Arizona. I don't know what's going to go on with Kyler Murray, but Kyler Murray seems to think that he's in full control. And you want to know what? He probably is, but how are you going to solve that problem? What are you going to do? Because they're not going to give him the money he's thrown out in jest. There's going to have to be some kind of compromise as far as salary is concerned for Kyler Murray, especially where he is within his rookie contract right now.
Well, yeah. So I got 2 questions about that, and by the way, if he wants to say F it and go play in it, I mean, yeah, Arizona's gonna be hurting for a while.
Yeah,
go play. Like, what? What's Arizona? What are the Cardinals gonna do? They're gonna stop him if he wants to go play. I mean, everybody's replaceable.
Yeah, exactly.
Replaceable. So, but 2 questions. Number 1, is he where is he at with his rookie contract?
Oh, he's got this year coming up and the year after.
If they decide to opt in, right?
And then they throw the 5th year on him. So, right, Jonathan, that where he's at, he's in the second to last year. And see, and I'm okay with the quarterback going, don't forget about me. Do not forget about, and yeah, I know probably I can't do anything, but listen, we better be ready to go at the end of 2022/23. All right, and not playing games. Let's get our money. But seems like he wants his money now. I don't know. But this is a statement from the actual agent. Wants to be the long-term quarterback. Well, yeah, scrubbing your social media with anything to do with it, that doesn't help. Desperately wants to win. What player doesn't want to? I mean, superstars that want to play, how many have not made the Super Bowl? Actions speak louder to words. That's the agent talking to Arizona saying they haven't really did anything, as far as giving him any kind of encouragement that the Cardinals are on his side and they are going to get this done. And then Kyler remains hopeful that the organization chooses to commit so he can continue leading the Cardinals. So what I get out of this is that if he doesn't get it, he just refuses to lead the Cardinals. This is really a bad move by this young man, I think, because it shows, if you don't cater to Mr. Kyler Murray, there might be a problem later on. You may have to deal with it. There's just nothing we can do about it. I don't. I think Kyler Murray has got to come to grips that he's not in control, but he is. But there's only so much control the Arizona Cardinals are going to give him, Jonathan. You know more about contracts as far as the NFL and with your dealings and everything else, especially where he is on his contract. Jonathan, what do you think about the Kyler Murray situation, and will that get figured out? And then we'll go to Cuervo because I only got him for a few more minutes.
I hate the fact that he's trying to renegotiate with 2 years left.
Yeah.
But I get it. He's looking to lock in an extension just like all the other young quarterbacks have. What Kyler fails to realize is that Lamar is actually going to set his market, and Lamar is in the middle of a negotiation with the Ravens right now. The reason those have been so drawn out is because Lamar actually doesn't use an agent.
Right.
So, Lamar's got to get his extension done, and then the Cardinals obviously have another bullet point that they can utilize for their negotiation with Kyler and his agent. Obviously that's somebody that you want to have as a backing because their play style is so similar. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, this is the same Kyler, though, that during the draft process came off as childish and immature. And I hate to break it to Kyler, but I did not value him highly as a draft prospect for baseball. I did not think that he was an impact player at the next level. So if he wants to go play baseball, especially after taking, 3 years off from swinging, good luck.
Yeah. Oakland A's, if I'm not mistaken, is one who owns his right in the
Yeah.
Major League Baseball, and you can use an athlete like him, but really, how much of an impact is he going to have? The guy hasn't picked up a bat in 3 years, so and that's we could talk about that all day long, Cuervo. But the simple fact of the matter is that it's almost like saying that we can bring Colin Kaepernick back to play. He hasn't played in 5 years, so they just expect him to walk in and start playing. Regardless of the other reason anybody wants to talk about, the simple fact of the matter is, the guy hasn't, thrown a football on the NFL level in 5 years. You expect him to walk in and do it. So sooner or later, there's going to have to be a compromise and as my dad used to tell me a lot, a come to Jesus. That's got to be understood. Do you think he's going to get that in Arizona, or do you think that Arizona can just go ahead and say, well, Kyler, it's been real, it's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun?
Well, he's not making it real fun,
exactly.
Because, here's the thing. So Jonathan mentioned Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson's in the middle of negotiating an extension with the Ravens, and correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I live under a rock and I didn't see it. I don't remember hearing Lamar Jackson wiping his Twitter, Instagram, or anything like that of anything Baltimore Ravens. I don't remember Lamar Jackson say, screw it, I'm going to go play, whatever other basketball or what. I don't know if he played any other sports, but he's not threatened to go play. And that's exactly why I said earlier, like, hey, you want to go play baseball? Go ahead. It's just like what Jonathan said. I mean, it's a funny comparison, but how'd it work out for Tim Tebow after so long? Right?
Yeah, years in the bus league. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so it's just not going to work that way. And to say that he wants to win Super Bowls really bad. Everybody wants to win a Super Bowl really bad. And what steps have you taken?
Good point.
To make that happen.
Yep.
Yeah, I know they made the playoffs this year. Okay, and he's part of that. But the goal is not wild card and you're done. Like that's not the, like, you got to understand the business part of it too, where you got to show that you have what it is. That's why Mahomes got the deal that he got. I mean, what, his second, third year, boom,
Super Bowl,
ring on your finger. That right there was
put a ring on it.
that was his checkmate move to the Kansas City Chiefs to say, I'm worth every penny that you pay me from this moment forward. And then the Chiefs are like, well, you just got us a ring, so yeah, I mean, you've shown it. You can't.
We're sold
about it. You got to have those results, and Kyler Murray right now is not. He's getting and he's trending in the right direction. But let's see what next year brings. If he can get them past one, if he can win a playoff game, then okay, maybe you got something there. But I just think for him to like you said, Sonny, and well, both of you said, the immaturity steps that he's taking to try and force the Cardinals into doing a deal, it's just not a good look, and I would say that, just keep doing what you're doing as far as improving your game, and the money will come.
Well, then it goes to this. Then the question is, right now, the Arizona Cardinals signing Cliff Kingsbury, the GM as well, to extensions through 2027, 5 years. I don't get that part of it, especially as you take a look at it. 24-24, 500 record. A lot of jobs you end up getting fired with that. Going in for the years that he's been in there. The Cardinals have accumulated 76 and 67 record during the general manager's time. So the question, they are trying to move forward with Kyler Murray. They're going to keep these guys. Is that the Cuervo? And I know you got to leave after this, but is this the right move? Is Cliff Kingsbury the guy? Is the GM the guy? Or do they need to make some different moves in order for Kyler Murray to be successful, in order for him to get paid if that's the money he wants.
Yeah, and this may not be the popular answer, Sonny, but I think Arizona's doing the right thing, because I think a lot of times the mistake that NFL teams make is, there's no what's the continuity. There's no continuity with teams.
Got it.
And that's why the Cleveland Browns have sucked for so long, because they keep hiring and firing, hiring and firing, hire and fire. And there's no continuity there. Just like,
Right.
we were messaging it the other night about Baker Mayfield,
Yes, exactly.
and with the whole 5th-year option for Baker Mayfield. All I'm going to say about that is, if you can find someone just as good or better than Baker Mayfield, then by all means, decline his 5th-year option, move on from him, and see what the next guy can do for you. But if you can't find someone that has had the success that Baker Mayfield has had, and yes, it's success, I don't want to hear anybody arguing with me. The Cleveland Browns have been successful with Baker Mayfield the past 2 seasons. All right. If you can't find somebody equal or better value, then Cleveland's falling right back into that hole that they used to be in before, where
Got
they're
it.
bringing new quarterback, and then they're gonna start looking at Stefanski. They're gonna fire him, and they're gonna bring in a new guy, and then they're gonna fire him, and it's just gonna be the same revolving door that Cleveland Browns were in 4 years ago.
Good
And
point.
so for Arizona, I think retaining Keim, retaining Kingsbury, I think that's the right thing to do. Let's see what Arizona does next year. And then if all goes well, and let's say Arizona wins a playoff game or even 2 playoff games, then, okay, Kyler, you showed us a little bit more this year. Let's sit down at the end of next season and we're going to talk extension. Boom.
Well, then I'll ask this. Do you think that this is something that could end up happening? Because I will tell you, with what's going on, I have not been impressed with Cliff Kingsbury whatsoever. Now, granted, good, better, and different, that's just the way I feel. And so not knowing really what the relationship is with coach, but more in the fact that you look at the GM situation, Jonathan, what are they going to, what he's asking for is going to be a lot of money. Then the GM's going to have to do some work in order to get them enough in order to put them in that position to win those football games. So, I don't know, Jonathan, is this a good move? 5-year deal. They're saying, we got your coach, we got your GM. So you're next to come. Is this a good thing? Do you think Kyler Murray likes the fact that coach and GM are staying?
I mean, I think he likes working with Cliff. They have a pre-existing relationship from college, and obviously Kyler's had success in the NFL with Cliff's offense. Even if I do think Cliff's a bad coach, Steve Keim's an interesting one, man. Like, he's obviously done some good with that franchise,
Right.
but at the same time, there's just enough in the way of, what the hell's going on. That makes you wonder. I mean, look, here's the thing with Kyler, and here's the thing with all these players that don't realize that there's a salary cap. We have to fit you within the constraints so we can build around you.
Exactly.
That's why one of my biggest pet peeves has been the way the quarterback salary market has expanded and exploded the way it has. As I look at these quarterbacks and I go, so what do you expect them to put around you now? At some point, like, we can't afford to pay your left tackle.
Exactly.
That's a problem. At some point, we can't afford to pay DeAndre Hopkins or Chandler Jones or guys like that. And now the team has gotten worse because of your selfish needs. So that's an interesting thing. I mean, like, and I understand Cuervo's argument. I heard it from every Bears fan during the Jay Cutler days. If not him, then who?
Right.
Like, that's always the big thing. If not him, then who?
Especially in Arizona, by the way.
Right. Well, and the thing with Arizona is there's a decent enough of a quarterback trade market that if not Kyler, Jimmy G, Kirk Cousins, right? Like, guys that may not be next level, but I'm not sure Kyler's next level. So like that's and that was the whole thing with that was always my sticking point with Jay Cutler. Whenever the argument was of not him then who, and I'm like anybody else because clearly this is not working,
Yep.
right? And it's the same thing with Minnesota. Well, if not Kirk Cousins, then who? Anybody else because clearly this is not working. Like at some point you have to realize that that the two of you aren't a fit to take you where you want to be. So I mean, it's an interesting situation to keep tabs on. Obviously, there's time on this one. I'm not that concerned about it just because, they locked in the coach and the GM, which it matters and it doesn't because NFL teams can fire anybody they want. They're not worried about buyouts.
That's true.
So now you just have to figure out the Kyler situation. And do you actually want to keep him long term? Is he a leader of your franchise? I mean, this is a guy who has stated that he doesn't like the fact that he feels like he was the scapegoat for the playoff loss. And yeah, you lost to the eventual Super Bowl champ. So like maybe it's not all on you. Maybe you just ran into a buzzsaw of a team. But at the same time, Kyler played horribly. Like own the fact that you played like shit.
Yes.
Like but it is what it is. We'll see where it goes from here. This is not going to be the last that we hear of this situation. It's clearly got time to develop into something, whether it's better or Kyler eventually looks to move on to greener pastures, and we see a quarterback hit the market in high demand for the first time since probably Peyton Manning. Oh, Tom Brady, obviously.
Obviously.
I always forget that he hit the free agent market.
You got it. Now, Cuervo, before you're out of here, I want to get your comment on this last slide because right here, right now, where Seattle is, we're talking right into the NFC West, the things that are going on. Pete Carroll says, we'd love to have Bobby Wagner. We'll work toward that. Right now, with what's going on as far as the Bobby Wagner situation, hell, how about just the freaking Seahawks situation? They got to deal with their quarterback. Will he be there next year? But two of your big superstars are about ready or have expressed interest or are willing, or if you just let them go, to go someplace else. Bobby Wagner and their quarterback things, Russell Wilson. These are two vital parts of your franchise to move forward towards the Super Bowl. Without one of them, it's going to be a big, big loss. And if you lose both of them, you just count them out because they're not going to get anywhere within that division of football, especially if the Rams are going to continue to win. If the Cardinals get better, and I don't know what San Francisco is going to do.
Yeah, so I know about the situation with Russell Wilson. I'm not completely familiar with Bobby Wagner. Has he expressed interest in leaving Seattle or something? Or
it hasn't necessarily expressed interest, but there have been people who have expressed interest in him and his contract where it is that could lead the Seattle Seahawks to making a move that would really, I'm sorry, a move regardless. Losing Bobby Wagner is devastating to the defense. That is not all that great right now, even with him. But if you lose him, it just gets that much worse.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Seattle's in a tricky cap situation, and he counts as $20 million against the cap.
Right.
That's the issue. There has been an expectation amongst the fan base that he's going to be a cap casualty, and Pete Carroll obviously coming out and saying no, but to get his cap number lower, they would need an extension, and that would be the trick. That's really a tricky part of the whole thing.
Cap casualty or not, Cuervo, this kills that football team. At least, I mean, you and I, we have been big fans of this guy because this guy plays balls to the wall. There are not too many and this was obviously, he let the Legion of Bungholes get their glory, and he just stepped in after the Bungholes left, and now it's just him in reality. And this would just, I want, just maybe it's selfish of me. I want to see Russell Wilson get another one. I mean, out of all the quarterbacks that are out there, I want to see Russ at least get the second one. But losing a key defensive player like this, Grant, it's not that you can't replace Bobby Wagner, but who are you going to replace him with that comes even close to the impact player that he is?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's good luck finding that guy. I mean,
yeah,
and whoever has a guy at that position, linebacker of his caliber, those teams aren't letting him go.
Yep.
There's no way. There's no way. Yeah, there's only one Bobby Wagner, and if he leaves Seattle, that's it. Like,
Yep.
you have a hole at middle linebacker until you find someone, that you can draft that becomes a guy that plays just as well as he does. So
Drops the third. Your Seattle Seahawks drop to minimum third within their own division that they play in. So it's just like shit.
yeah. So
They're
I mean,
already
look,
fourth.
my thing is, if Bobby wants to stay in Seattle, do everything you can to make it happen.
Yes.
And if you got to sacrifice a little in other places, depending on where those places are, obviously you're screwed if you have to choose between him and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
That's going to be a bad day. I mean, and Seattle they'll probably most likely choose Russell Wilson over Wagner, which I can understand why, but that's just, that's going to suck for them. And but do what you can to keep him. Do what you can to keep him, and because he's done so much for your franchise for so long. That should be the goal. For him to retire as a Seahawk.
Yep.
So
where are you off to?
I've got some chores around the house to do, so I'll probably jump on my phone and listen to you guys and maybe comment.
Oh, I got news for you. It's gonna be fun, and you'll be putting it down because you'll be typing. Because I got it set. I was hoping that I would get one, Jonathan, today because I got a lot to talk about in the NFL. And I love talking to Jonathan about the NFL. Possibilities here, possibilities there. Tells me when I need to get my head examined. That's why I love Jonathan, even though I'm usually right 50% of the time.
And you know what? then Jonathan, I'll be praying for you, buddy, because it sounds like it's gonna get a little wild here on the couch.
I got 23 slides, so there you go. Left, so there you go.
I don't know, whatever you gotta do to keep your cool, man, because I have a
I'm gonna set him on fire, baby. The fire's coming.
What did I sign up for?
All right, Cuervo, you be good. Always good to see you. Thanks for joining us, my
guys.
friend. We'll catch you next week, maybe. There will be Crenshaw next week. Do you know him? His first name is Sam Crenshaw. Sam Crenshaw from Atlanta. He does a lot of stuff. He's the newscaster at 10 o'clock. He does the morning shows over there. He's going to be talking about the Atlanta Falcons. So we'll be squaring a lot of attention on the Atlanta Falcons, and it'll probably be somewhere in the afternoon because he does a morning show. We'll give him a break to chill out before we bring him on and get him a little bit more. So he said next week because he's being inducted in the High School Hall of Fame down there in Atlanta. So congratulations with him. So keep that in mind, and I'll send you the link to him on Facebook, and you can see what he does and everything else as well. Okay. All right. It's always good to see you.
I'll be listening.
Co-host of this program on the show. Always good to see you. Take care, my friend. So there goes Cuervo. I got Jonathan. Jonathan, gear up because we got some stuff to talk about here. I'm telling you that I've been excited, and I was actually really glad that you were going to be here because lots of things to talk about, and it's all football. It's all football, and I want to start in right here with my locals right here because there's some big problems being dug up here. Now, you know a lot about this stuff because you know salary, you know all this other stuff. So I want to get to Arizona and Amari Cooper, the guy that really, if you take a look at who he is and where he came from, with his potential and what is going on as the Cowboys right now, and this is according to Adam Schefter, they are likely to release Amari Cooper to start of the new league year on March 16th. So this is just around the corner. 15 games this season, 68 receptions, 865 in yards, 8 touchdowns. He was also down because of a COVID for a couple of weeks as well. So those numbers could have even been higher. The Cowboys, by making this move, is going to save $16 million in cap space. and $6 million in dead money if he's on his out and out release. Now, the Cowboys right now have designated Cooper as their post June 1st release. So, will they do it before then or not? But they'll say $20 million in cap space while taking a $2 million hit on that cap. So you're looking at the difference of $4 million if they do it before the time that we're talking about. So as where the Dallas Cowboys are is a football team that supposedly has 3 other receivers. I'm going to talk to you about those guys, but I look at this and I understand cap stuff. Ezekiel Elliott's contract is so garbage that you can't keep Amari Cooper. What this is boiling down to, and they're going to keep a worn out, run down running back when you got the other guy who's making more of an impact on impact plays than Ezekiel Elliott. So right now, the Cowboys are a victim of their own stupidity in reality when you sign Ezekiel Elliott to the contract that they signed him to and that they're stuck with because the dead money even gets worse with Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys is $13 million over the cap right now.
Wow.
Yeah, well, like it's funny you say that because like New Orleans is like $100 million.
Yes,
there are some wonky at what have a lot of GMs have. So the Steelers created a model where you kick the money down the road,
right,
and you deal with the debt when it's due, but we got to keep the championship window open. A
Yep.
lot of people started copying that method, and then they get stuck. So here's the thing with the Cowboys: you cut Amari Cooper, you get under the cap. They're going to have to make other moves so that they can afford their draft pool. Look, Amari Cooper's obviously still a really good receiver. Last year, his numbers, part of the reason they're down is the fact that CeeDee Lamb he took over as the number 1 receiver, which they were hoping for when they drafted the number 1 overall pick.
Absolutely.
So, you cut Amari. It's a shame you can't trade him because obviously he still has trade value. You'd like to recoup the draft pick that you utilized to acquire him. But if everybody knows that you have to do something, what you're going to get back. Now, my stance on this has always been something's better than nothing.
Right.
And I would tell teams that we can find creative ways to create cap space. You can't find creative ways to get Amari Cooper, but GMs are stupid and they tip their hands too early. So if you're Dallas, obviously Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence are both on the chopping block. Ezekiel Elliott, you can't get out of his contract till after next season. So you're stuck. You hate to lose DeMarcus Lawrence because clearly he's a talented player.
Absolutely.
You hate to lose Amari Cooper because clearly he's a talented player. But you hope you can draft competent replacements. So I mean, if you're Dallas, obviously Amari's the easiest one because you already have your number 1 CeeDee Lamb. Amari's essentially become a high end number 2. You have guys like what's his name? Not Gallup, because Gallup's hitting the market. Are they out of receivers now? Actually, now that I think about it.
No, they have him. And by the way, well, I'll talk about that in just a moment. No, they've got a round. They've got some wide receiver, and then they got Schultz at the tight end position that they're beginning to like as well. On
Schultz is a free agent, though.
Yeah, but they'll re-sign him.
Like
They'll
Dallas'
just
biggest
overpay him
problem.
to keep him.
Like that's Dallas's biggest problem is they've got to get creative and find ways to either keep guys or at least put a class together. I mean, you have CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper under contract.
Yeah, and Michael Gallup is the other guy you're thinking of.
Right, so Gallup's a free agent. So Robert Foster, Simi Fehako, TJ Vasher, and Brandon Smith are your other receivers. Right? Schultz is a free agent. So Jarwin, McKeon, and Ian Bunting are your only tight ends. Like you're very thin at those positions rapidly because of this free agent class. And if you cut Amari Cooper, you need to find ways to replace him. Now, that being said,
that's the name of the show.
There we go. You could draft replacements.
Absolutely.
Like the great thing about college football opening up the way it has offensively is that there's a lot of good receivers that are being showcased and highlighted. You can find them now. And because there's so many of them, the draft value is suppressed. You can get guys in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round that are still very talented. And so the Cowboys may have to go that route. This is also a good tight end class. One of the better tight end classes in recent memory. So that they may have to go young to find these replacements, but or you get creative, you start kicking things down the road, you start figuring things out. I mean, they could always pull off extensions with certain guys, lower numbers now, push the can down the road. I hate that model. You're just accruing debt in the back end. But
Absolutely.
it's a shame to see Amari
But that's
Cooper.
the Cowboys, and obviously what's going on in New Orleans too. That's the same exact scenario that they got going on right now.
Like, it would be a shame to let Amari Cooper walk for nothing. It really would. I mean, he's clearly still a very good receiver. He had a down year, one because his amount of targets went down, and two obviously because of the injury / COVID.
That this is atypical Dallas Cowboys stuff, though. You go out and get the hot hand. That they paid him only $20 million just 2 years ago. Okay, so this is not something. Jerry got illusions of grandeur, because he is still has not forgotten about the Randy Moss debacle and losing that deal. I mean, this guy has never been able to live down the fact that he could not get Randy Moss, and then he goes out and does now. Granted, at the time, Amari Cooper, listen, that guy's there, but I'm here in the Dallas area, and I'm going to tell you right now, Sonny loves him some Dak Prescott. I got some mad love for him, but if Dak Prescott 2 years ago could get that ball to Amari Cooper, that him being a vital part of that, now if you are taking on the Dallas Cowboys, you got to worry about Gallup, you got to worry about Cooper, and you got to worry about the other one. The other one just slipped my mind there. But you got to worry about a 1-2-3 punch. And then, listen, I think they keep Dalton Schultz because a tight end coming out of college is not going to be productive. Schultz is productive and he's smart. So they're going to figure out a way to keep him. And if they don't, someone's going to get a treat with that guy on their football team. That being said, of course, that's the name of the show. If the Dallas Cowboys go the way, and by all means, everybody's reporting that that's going to be happening, there's one team out there that needs to go out and grab this guy. There's one team that needs a number one receiver so bad, just within this division, the Giants need to break their arm to get this guy. Because if you have the trust that you have in your quarterback and Jones, you need to get him that weapon in order to bring that home. And right now, where the Giants are, just with quick looks, they can afford Amari Cooper. They could grab up Amari Cooper. Now, the amount of what they'll pay him, I don't know. But how much of a revenge factor will that be for Amari Cooper going, yeah, I'll go to the Giants. But I see your head shaking, and I'm on Sunny number one crazy talk today. So go ahead, Jonathan. I mean, the Giants right now need to find a weapon for Daniel Jones because it sure in the hell isn't the running back, which we'll be getting to in a second. As far as that is concerned, they got a problem at the running back position that's supposed to hold down the fort for them on their offensive side of the ball, and they're not getting that. So they need something. Is a good move for the Giants to go get an Amari Cooper?
The Giants are $7 million over the cap.
Yeah.
So they would have to get creative with their finances. They just broke the bank last year for Kenny Golladay.
There you go. That's the guy I lost. I forgot about.
They drafted Kadarius Toney in the first round, and they don't believe in Daniel Jones. Amari Cooper.
That's interesting you say that because you and I think, agree on that, but that's not what is necessarily being said by the guy, the man, the myth. He says, I don't want to purge on the roster because we still need to find out if Daniel Jones, what we can do with him. Look at this. They're trying to figure out what they can do with him. And then they got this Saquon Barkley thing going on but then just a couple other days, here he is talking yet again. First off, we've got to get underneath the cap. That's number one. That's the money that you were talking about. That's number one. But then you have to make some tough decisions for the near future just to get in a place where they can sign draft picks and be below the cap. I don't want to purge the roster because we still don't. We still want to find out what Daniel Jones can bring to them is really what it is. So, listen, Daniel Jones, listen, you say whatever you want. This is what you get with Daniel Jones, okay? For the last 3 seasons, 15 games with multiple turnovers. That is the thing that will keep him off of a roster. But is that necessarily all on his shoulders? Well, the turnovers, he's the one that throws them and everything else. But sometimes desperation makes you do desperate things. So throwing in double coverage, making bad decisions to try to squeeze one in, and look where they are as far as the record is concerned throughout the season. Why not try it? The old Jameis Winston, deal with Bruce Arians. Just throw the damn thing down the field, and then you end up with 20, 30, interceptions. So they have a situation where they got a young guy, dude, and you say that you don't believe them. They kind of saying that they don't as well, because they have to quote unquote figure out what they're going to get for him, or with him. Do you think this team stays with Daniel Jones, or do you think that we're going to hear something about a trade for Daniel Jones or something at the quarterback position for the New York Giants?
I think they'll acquire somebody from Daniel Jones, acquire somebody to push Daniel Jones in camp. And honestly, the guy that I'm going to mention I'm glad Cuervo's not on. It's going to piss him off. Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky's going to be a free agent. He just spent a year with Brian Daboll. I think Daboll will bring Trubisky in to push Daniel Jones a little bit. And not that he believes in him, but it's a backup who already knows the system kind of deal.
Yes.
You can't cut Daniel Jones because it doesn't do anything cap wise for you. So
right,
you're stuck with them like that. He put a veil over it and tried to make it look pretty, but essentially they're stuck with Daniel Jones for this year, right? And new coaches who walk into situations with an uncertain quarterback situation, they always want to go out and find their guy. And next year's draft is supposed to have a couple of those guys. So I expect the Giants to play the company line. We're going to build around Daniel Jones. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. They're not going to keep. Look, at Amari Cooper, there's 2 teams within that division that I think would benefit from having him. One of them would be Philadelphia Eagles, which
absolutely.
I'm not entirely certain if they can afford him, because they're $18 million. They're $18 million under the cap, but you got a lot X amount for draft picks. I think it's $13 million. And then they have their own guys to re-sign. The other one, the one that I think would honestly make the most sense, but they have to figure out their quarterback situation, is Washington.
Absolutely.
Washington has $33 million in cap space. They need to figure out. They clearly would benefit from having a number 1 receiver, but they also need a quarterback, and they've been aggressive and going and hunting for a quarterback. And we'll have to see.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean they've been aggressive? Because right now they still have what they got going on, right? Not Ryan Tannehill. Beard.
Well, the new cap year hasn't hit yet.
It's quote unquote still there because of the contract they signed. Then they got the young kid that took over Heineke. Neither one of them are really starting quarterbacks. What are they actually doing in order to fill that spot? You say active to try to find that guy. What does that mean, active, and who are they looking at least as far as what you're hearing? Because I'm not hearing jack as far as that's concerned.
Well, so the word out of the combine is that they're turning over rocks on everybody. They're making phone calls on everybody. So Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, anybody and everybody who they think could be available, they're kicking the can on. They want to upgrade their quarterback room. They think that's a clear deficiency. And look, I like Heineke, but I like Heineke as a good backup. I think Heineke
backup or coming in certain situations.
Yeah, I think Heineke and Fitzpatrick are very similar.
Yes.
In their careers, where it's like they're fun, but clearly they're not the guy.
Well, you're right. Wait, Heineke, I think, is clearly not the guy. The guy that needs to definitely start is Fitzpatrick, regardless of what you think about him or where you think he is. He is better than Heineke, regardless, because he's going to give you the opportunity to get wins more so than hope for a win. And there is a big difference when you look at it that way.
Yeah, Washington's not trying to win. Like they're not trying to win with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's 39 years old. If you're Washington, you're starting Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're like, okay, well, we need to lose some games. We clearly need to get better draft position. We need to, because I know Washington stared at the quarterbacks in this draft really hard. And so it's They need to figure it out. But obviously you need a quarterback before you go get Amari Cooper because that's a double expense. You need one expense before you get the other. So they'll figure it out. And if you're the Giants, you don't want to purge the roster because there are some good pieces. But at the same point in time, like they're going to need to make moves. Right now, Joe Shane is in the we need to sit, wait, and evaluate mode. And once they evaluate the guys, then he can make decisions. I don't expect him to be out there looking to re-sign a bunch of guys.
Well,
I think he just wants to evaluate what he has.
Someone, and there's one right here. Whoop, wrong button. This one right here. As you take a look at Saquon Barkley and what has he, and what do we always talk about is what have you done for me lately in this business? Okay, it is the NFL. And frankly, Saquon Barkley, first of all, hasn't done anything for him lately. And not only that, as far as the production that he's put forth in reality, Jonathan, it's nowhere near the money that this guy's going to be getting paid. So the New York Giants are in that position where that is a cap casualty for him as well. Depending, I'm not sure exactly how much, but this is more dead cap space more than anything, isn't it, as far as Barkley is concerned?
You have to sit on Barkley. There's no savings if you cut him. Whether you cut him or you keep him, the cap hits the same. So you're going to keep him. If you can trade him, cool. I mean, good luck. Good luck.
Well, his value is down because of the fact he hasn't been out on the football field. That's
he's injured,
and when he hasn't shown that he's been able to do anything.
Well, he's inconsistent, but he's always been an inconsistent running back. Saquon Barkley plays like Reggie Bush did as a running back, and everybody figured out after Reggie Bush, okay, clearly, boomer bust running backs aren't helpful.
Absolutely.
We need to find guys who are consistent because Saquon's big thing
ask the Dallas Cowboys is about Ezekiel Elliott when they're paying some guy $3 million who's outperforming him right now.
Yeah, I mean, at work I talked about it. I always said that there was a tier to the running backs. There's like a direct line of these running backs who all think they're Reggie Bush, right?
Yeah.
And you have Saquon who thinks he's Zeke, and you have Zeke who thinks he's Christian McCaffrey, right? Like, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Because neither one of them are Christian McCaffrey.
Right. And right now, people in Carolina, they're thinking about a way of getting something for him in reality because of the fact he hasn't been out on the field. The many injuries that he's had for the last few years, this guy could be a casualty for the Carolina Panthers. Good point as far as that is concerned. Now, I'll go back to the other one that you were talking about as far as quarterback is concerned, Jimmy G, right now. And it is, despite the shoulder surgery, there are lots of teams out there that are going for Jimmy G. And folks, let's not forget, you can say whatever you want about Jimmy G. You can criticize the guy all day long, but Sonny was right, okay? All right. And I get a chance to blow this out because it was the infamous video.
What?
Is when I said that Jimmy Garoppolo was the second best quarterback in the NFC West. And guess what? Sonny Clark was right. Okay? I was right. I don't get the opportunity to say that, but as soon as that last pass gets thrown, literally hours, front office people are talking about getting rid of Jimmy G. All right, so now granted, they might have been talking out of haste because of the situation, the bad throw and everything else, and the fact they lost that game. But literally 2 or 3 hours, they're if you believe what people are saying, we're on the phones figuring out what they can do about getting rid of Jimmy G. I'll just say this. The 49ers could do a lot worse than going into next season with Jimmy G at the quarterback position. Yeah, I said it. I just said it. I'm not saying it's the right answer. I'm just saying there are a lot worse guys that you could go out to get in reality. More in the fact that just some of the names that you mentioned are obviously names that are being mentioned over in San Francisco. Outside of Jimmy G.
I mean, obviously, Jimmy G's is going to hit the market. He's going to have a new home next year. San Francisco would like to have the cap space. They believe in Trey Lance. And I'm not surprised.
I'm sorry, you broke up when you said that. Can you repeat that because I didn't hear it?
Oh yeah. With Jimmy G, San Fran wants his cap space,
right?
Because you can use that.
So he's going to be on a different team,
right? No, he's gone. They believe in Trey Lance.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure I heard that right. Okay. I don't know how you can believe in a Trey Lance when you haven't seen anything really in reality from him. You've seen 2 football games, you might get an idea what that is. But for the fact that, and I'm not questioning whether or not you believe that, I would be questioning whether or not San Francisco should have that thinking about Trey Lance with the second-year guy that has not seen the freaking field. And by the way, when he was on the field, he was terrible. He was outright terrible, and it was an ugly scene in reality.
Oh, that was terrible. Crazy knuckleheaded terrible.
So, yeah, they got that. They got the high draft pick. They moved up to get him, and I completely understand that. But listen, I know Jimmy G isn't great, but Jimmy G is better than Trey Lance. I'm questioning the front office in reality regarding that, because you can go into next year, at least with the guy that got you to the NFC Championship and with another opportunity to make it to the Super Bowl. It is what it is, right? I mean, you can't argue with the numbers. You can't argue with the results. You can argue with the way it looks. And that's what we're getting right here, Jonathan, arguing the way that per se looks for San Francisco going into next year with Jimmy Garoppolo at the quarterback position.
I mean, San Francisco is $1 million over the cap. Getting rid of Jimmy G clears up $25 million. It's got to happen. They need to resign guys. They, like I said, they whether I agree with it or not, they believe in Trey Lance. Okay,
now I'm going to ask you, since you just said that, do you believe in Trey Lance? I mean, we haven't seen much of him. I just want to get your opinion about it, because I'm not the end all get all when it comes to Trey Lance. So,
no.
Okay. Maybe I was wrong, because I might not have seen what you might have seen or someone else have seen that makes this guy the second coming, except for his draft position.
I mean, the problem with Trey Lance is that he didn't have it last year in college because of COVID. It got wiped out. He only had 1 game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had Trey higher than maybe the number 5 quarterback in the draft. And I'm not certain he would have been the number 1 quarterback in this year's draft in my eyes.
I agree.
And that says something, because I'm not a huge fan of this year's draft. Trey Lance put up good numbers in college. Granted, it's at a smaller program, but he showed that he was turnover adverse and that he was athletic. He has the requisite arm strength. So, you've got things to figure out on his end. I'm interested to see what the market is for Jimmy, who goes after him. I mean, look, I'd say the Bucs would be interested, but the Bucs don't really have cap space to go get Jimmy. Washington is definitely interested. A team like Pittsburgh, a team, anybody who thinks they're close to being competitive would be severely interested in acquiring Jimmy G. Whether what he gets back. All right, what does San Francisco get back of value for Jimmy G? Can they get a first-round pick out of him? Considering they gave up a second for him, that's a win, and they used first-round picks to get Trey Lance. So to get one back would be great. So,
do you think Jimmy G you can get Jimmy G with a first rounder? That would definitely be the team that he would go to. That'd be a big question.
With enough suitors, I think you can get the bidding up to that.
Right. The bidding I have to go, but I was thinking the best you could get before you said first round. I was thinking the best you could get is a second rounder for him, and I don't know if that's good enough in reality to make the push for it, or whether or not San Francisco would go for that, because at the same time, you think about second rounders, they're in the second round for a reason, okay, and not too many second rounders are that much of an impact player that you say, oh God, I got to have that guy. So there's a lot of things to look at as far as that is concerned. I think I agree with you as far as where Trey Lance is as far as that's concerned. I don't think that's somewhere. So again, it's all about cap kit. It's about cap killing right now. They got to kill some cap in order to make sure that they could get into the next year. Now, you briefly mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're still in a situation where they are going to go into the draft. And I'm glad you're on, because I wanted to talk to you. And I also wanted to talk to Bryce. I would love to get his opinion up on this. But the simple fact of the matter is that the Steelers are sitting and going to go into this draft class with their GM, and then he's going to retire. This right here with them this week in Indianapolis, talking to Louis Riddick, I think, and I might be wrong, Jonathan, is the right move in reality, and just let the other guy go, let him go off into the sunset and leave him out of it. Because the simple fact of the matter is he didn't do anything about, say whatever you want, he didn't do anything about Ben Roethlisberger last year. And so now you're going to make him or depend upon him to make the right move at this point in juncture for the franchise, when he couldn't even understand that even a dumbass like me knew they needed to go and get a quarterback for the future last year when they had the opportunity to grab up a quote-unquote guy that could actually do it.
They felt beholden to Ben for whatever that's worth. I don't mind using the GM that has spent the entire year of scouting to get them through the draft and then moving on. I think hiring his replacement before free agency would be a great move. That way, that person can incorporate their input on the matter. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen as free agency.
It doesn't seem like you're right. They're still just yapping about it.
So I don't mind Colbert helping make these decisions. He's proven to be a good drafter, good evaluator. Well, his scouts at least have proven to be good evaluators of talent. He's made some good decisions. They've drafted well over the years under him.
Except this past season when they didn't do something about a vital position where everybody knew that a good 90% chance that they were not going to have Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, yeah, but like they also didn't have cap space last year. So like,
that's why you go out and you grab the guy up in the draft in reality.
Yeah, but who are you going to draft? Were you going to use a first-round pick on a quarterback, or are you going to use a first-round pick on a piece to try and push the chips all in for that? And there wasn't a quarterback outside of my top four that I would have drafted. I'm very particular about drafting quarterbacks. If you haven't,
of course, I imagine.
I hate wasting draft capital on guys just to be like they could be a good backup. Get out of here.
We've seen many times where guys that were at best second rounders just leaked their way up in the first rounder because of desperation of certain teams. We've already seen that.
Exactly. So, we'll have to see. Like I said, I don't mind it. I didn't mind the Najee Harris pick last year. It didn't work out because Ben was cooked, and the bigger issue we're having is people aren't telling these star quarterbacks when they're done.
That's a good point. I see what you're saying. I know where you're going.
They keep telling them that, no, it's fine. I promise you still got it. Drew Brees was dead for a couple years. And I kept saying it. Nobody wanted to admit it. Everybody, but no, Drew Brees was dead.
They were, but let's be honest, they were a victim of who else was going to be out there at the time because they weren't going to draft it, right? So they were a victim of that, right? And I know that's your favorite, but that's where they were, right? Or am I wrong about that?
So we're back to the not if not him, then who?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that Saints team was built pretty well. They could have done something about it if they really wanted to. It's Peyton Manning got out the year that he knew he couldn't do it anymore.
Right? Well, he probably knew he couldn't do it the year that he got the Super Bowl, and it was lucky.
And he left. He recognized, okay, I'm done.
He probably recognized it before the end of the year of the year before, but he needed to get that second ring so he wouldn't be outshined by his brother, who is far less superior than he ever was.
The year before, though, he was still playing well. He just hadn't gotten hurt yet. The minute that he tore his quad, it was over, right?
Yeah.
Tom Brady steps away, and everybody says Tom Brady's still at the peak. And it's like, well, Tom Brady's not at the peak. But I think Tom Brady realized that he was closer to the cliff than anybody else wants to realize.
It's a good point.
I've done Tom Brady games. I can tell you that man does not like to throw it on target at times. It is very frustrating. Oh my God, the Bucks Colts game, Tom Brady did not throw a pass on target until the second quarter. To the end of time.
How many times have we seen the early pick from him for the last 2 years? Not just one, and they are, like you said, they're early picks. And he learns from his mistakes, knows where his guy's going to be, so he gets a little better.
Yeah, so like Tom Brady figured out that he was closer to the cliff than he realized. Okay, we're done, right? He figured it out. Drew Brees didn't figure that out. Okay, Big Ben definitely didn't figure that out.
Well, hold
You know,
on. Did he really figure it out, Jonathan? Because there are now talks, and I didn't put the slide up for this one, so this will be one that slide. They're already talking about, Tom Brady didn't necessarily want to retire from the NFL. He wanted to retire from the Bucks.
oh, what
So
the hell ever. Okay, fine. Request a trade. I dare you. The Bucks
what?
still own his rights for a year. Request the trade. Give me the draft picks, please. Make my day. I
That's
can package you and Gronk and go get a first and something else.
but
Make my day.
look at where they are, though. They're 1 year, pretty much 1 year removed from a Super Bowl.
Mhm.
And now him and Bruce Arians can't see eye to eye. I
Him
mean,
and Bruce never saw eye to eye, and him and Byron never saw eye to eye.
okay.
Like,
Oh, okay,
here's
now
the
I'm going
thing.
to go on to I hate my brother because he'll say something that I'll remember, like right now, and then I'll bring it up, But where Bruce, who's going to be the guy that's making those decisions on the team? It's not the GM, it's not the head coach, it's not Byron Leftwich, okay? Which, by the way, how come that guy didn't get a freaking head coaching job? That's another story for another day.
Because he was trying to hire a GM.
That's what it was, and he wanted a certain thing that they would go with it. But listen, Tom Brady retired before they got the opportunity to get the trade for him. I mean, so there's
Tom. But here's
Tom
the
Brady.
thing.
Tom Brady handed it to him in reality.
Well, no, because here's the thing. We all kind of knew that Tom was going to retire.
Right.
Because Tom spent the second half of the season talking about how he wanted to spend time with his children. He wanted to raise his children. He wanted to be a dad, a full-time dad. It was the first time in his career anybody had heard Tom talking so much about off the field and personal life. Look,
Right.
the dude's 44.
So much so. I'm sorry. I'm just not buying. I mean, I'm not buying it.
That's fine. I think Tom was just. I think he was done. I mean, it's a long. Being an NFL player is not easy. And in his last game, he got his ass whipped. I think if they hadn't lost to the Rams,
Had to come to Jesus. Is that what?
yeah, because he got his ass. He got he got abused.
Yeah.
Donovan Smith got annihilated. Tom took a lot of hits in that game, and I think after the game, Tom said, "Holy shit,
Jeez, who am I, Brett Favre?"
Yeah, like I hurt. This is not fun. I'm in pain. I'm in genuine pain. I think Tom was. I think age and the physical beating he took that game just caught up with him, and then he wants to spend time with his kids. He wants to do things with his wife, and he wants to go be a dad. He wants to go be a human. Like he's got enough money. He's got enough rings. He's done everything.
Yes.
We're not beholden to keeping Tom Brady around for forever. He's allowed to step away whenever he plays. Look, the starting left guard for the Bucs is retired at 28. I'm more bothered by that than I am by Tom. I look at Tom and say, Tom's 44. He's done. I've got an all-pro left guard who's 28 years old, right? He's in his prime. The dude's an all-pro, and he's like, nah, you know what? I'm going to get married and go do family things. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. No, baby, come back. It's like, all right, fine. Whatever.
Well, how long Tom Brady's been doing it, right? Well, here's an example of how long he's been doing it. I mean, if you think about it, yes, I'm going to the Detroit Lions, but he is at least a Hall of Famer. No argument there.
Awesome
that was one of my favorite. And I'm bringing this up because it was one of my favorite talks with you about Calvin Johnson, and I was messing with you that day because I had written it down. I'm going to mess with Jonathan. I let everybody know. But this right here tells you exactly how long he's been doing it. And, you have Calvin Johnson right now in the Hall of Fame, and now he's quote-unquote officially done it. But, man, make sure it just always – you just don't know with guys like this. You go back to Brett Favre. I mean, how many times did he leave everybody in a lurch deciding when – at least he actually, quote-unquote, officially retired, unlike Brett Favre, who just let people think that he was not going to – or Willie or won't he kind of thing.
Brett broke our thinking, though. See, that's the problem is Brett broke our thinking on a quarterback retiring. Every time a great quarterback retires, now we're like, are they? Like, are they really? Because of Brett Favre.
Right now, right now with Brady, yeah.
But we've proven that Brett's the exception. He's not the
Yes.
rule. When these guys say they're done, they're done. I
Usually.
mean, we can Zapruder film, everything about Brady's, retirement or non-retirement, whatever it is. He wants to play for the 49ers. He doesn't want to play for the 40, whatever it is. We can Zapruder film it all day. At the end of the day, Brett has broken our thinking on great ones stepping away. In all reality, we just need to admit that, like, he was the weird exception to the rule. Brett was not normal in the way he handled things.
I think of the whole thing with Tom Brady and the fact that he got the guy who's just done it all. I mean, regardless if it was just with one team or not, that they couldn't get along, or just say, all right, just humor the dude, and they did. They humored him. I don't know why you wouldn't want to continue to humor the dude, but it is what it is.
They're willing to. I mean, Bruce Arians, has openly stated he wants him back, but like, Tom doesn't want to play anymore, man. Like,
well, hold on. Does he not want to play anymore? Or does he not want to play with Bruce Arians and the F Troop situation that's going on? Yeah, and I said F Troop in compared to the coaching situation in Tampa Bay.
This whole thing is tiring me. We're generating controversy because Tom Brady's stepping away. Because Michael Jordan and Brett Favre didn't step away normally. Like, when Joe Montana was done, he was done. When Big Ben announced he was going to retire, he manned up and retired at the end of it, right? Like when Peyton Manning said he was done, he was done. Calvin Johnson, you can go down the list. When these guys say they're done, they're done. But Michael Jordan and Brett Favre completely jacked the whole narrative. They're actually done. And then everybody goes, well, there was animosity between Brady. There was animosity between Brady and the Patriots staff too. Like, the dude, he's a fiery competitor. It happens. I mean, but it's generating controversy for sake of controversy because the media doesn't want to let Tom Brady go. I get it. He's a cash cow. Let the man go live. Like, it's not like they're not. It's not
Definitely
like a top he's not about to set up in his backyard, anyways. We'll see Tom Brady again in a couple years when, like Peyton Manning, he makes a bid to buy a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to happen. The next step for Tom Brady is going to be ownership.
Well, see, interestingly enough, that ownership thing that's going on, I'm getting way off of what I was going, but you just keep bringing them up. Yeah, you have Tom Brady retiring. You have right now a guy that's trying to buy the Broncos, that being Peyton Manning. Then you have Mr. Smith, the black billionaire that wanted to grab him up. Then you have Byron Allen. So, I said it last week, and I'll say it this week. The NFL is about ready to screw this up. The NFL is about ready to let this one go the wrong way. And because if Tom Brady and if Peyton Manning, now Peyton Manning's already got the backing supporting what's going on. So that's not really a problem. But if he added a Tom Brady up on top of that, could you imagine how much pressure the NFL would be under to go ahead and have Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and the team going in there doing that? But this team really needs to go to Allen or Smith, one of the two, or they're right now they're about ready to drop the ball. I just
why?
There's something about the NFL that tells me that they're going to screw this up.
Why does Smith and Allen need to own the franchise? Because of the color of their skin?
Well, hold on. Listen. If you don't think for 1 second that there is a lot of pressure on the NFL to get a black owner in this, you're just going to go ahead and cipher over the whole thing. Now, granted, whether or not they want it or like it, it is a portion of what's going on in the NFL. It's what's being talked about. It is what is being.
No, I'm aware of that, but it's a dumb argument. You can't just install somebody as the owner without them paying for it. Firstly, secondly, the NFL came out and said you need to have $2.5 billion in liquid capital, upfront money to buy this team.
Right.
Because we're not going to do a situation like Carolina where we had to take not even the highest bid because it was the only one who had the money. There's too many people are trying to buy teams with debt, and we all see with the Miami Marlins that you can't do that because the Miami Marlins, their ownership spent all their money.
The Miami Marlins are just a total different monster Listen, the
No,
Miami Marlins
no,
had
no,
no
no,
business.
but
The
no, no, no,
Miami
no, no.
Marlins had no business in Major League Baseball. Let's just be honest.
Sure. No, I'm not going to fight that. That team was supposed to be in Tampa. There should only be one baseball team in Tampa or in Florida. I'm not going to argue that. But like the whole thing is, people have seen bad ownership, and it's new groups walking in without the financial backing. And at the end of the day, if you look at it, all the NFL owners recently that have bought teams, first off, it's not all white guys; it's a diverse group. Secondly, you're talking about guys who have had the liquid capital up front to go, here's everything. I don't need to pay you over a time period. This is my money. Could Robert Smith do this? Yes. Can Byron Allen do this? Not without backers, right?
I think he could do it.
No, because he's only worth $1 billion himself, so he would have to get backers to help raise the extra $1.5 billion.
All right.
Could Peyton Manning's group do this? Well, it's a group. Like, they're having to put together a conglomerate, which is always an issue, by the way. Can Tom Brady do it? No, he would need to do the same thing. Can John Elway do it, which is another group trying to buy the Broncos? No. That's why there's like 7 people
Wait,
involved.
was Elway in real consideration of buying them? I mean, because I thought he was done with the whole idea of it, and I might be wrong.
No. There's 4 groups that are jockeying right now to buy the Broncos. One of them is the group with Peyton Manning as the face, right? Which, again, we've seen this. The Miami Marlins bid was because Derek Jeter was the face of that franchise. Was the face of that group. So you put somebody with a name and face of a group. That way, nobody goes, "Who the hell are these people?" You have the group with John Elway as the face, right? Like, neither one of those 2 people can buy the team outright. So there's a handful of owners that have to do that. You have the Byron Allen group, which Byron Allen again needs a group around him. He needs the backing. Robert Smith, in theory, could buy this team by himself. Robert Smith is the best bid right now.
Right.
And the idea that he could actually lay down the $2.5 billion himself. Right. He would fit the NFL's model of solo owner, right? Because the NFL loves only having one owner.
Absolutely.
That's a big thing for them.
It's less talk.
But at the end of the day, my argument still remains. There's no pressure on the NFL to make sure that the next owner of the Denver Broncos is somebody that isn't white.
You're wrong.
The pressure is that you need somebody who isn't white, who has the money, who wants to own the team. That's what it is. It's a supply and demand issue. And if the demand, that it's not up to the NFL to try and put somebody in a position of power who can't afford a team. They need to be able to afford the team. Robert Smith
completely agree with you.
Smith is the best shot at that. And but I've seen Robert Smith own a sports franchise before. He owned the Charlotte Bobcats in the NBA. He named them Bobcats after himself. He wanted to have Bob in the name. Like I get it. Like, you're worth that much money, there's some narcissism attached to it. But but that franchise could never get off the ground. Michael Jordan came in and bought them, and that rebranded them as the Hornets again. And the franchise has taken incremental steps forward. It's taken a while because the NBA is a finicky market, especially when you're a quote unquote small market team. So, again, Robert Smith can do this. And if he has the money, he has my blessing. But just like the other 4 groups. Now, here's the other part of this that everybody seems to be forgetting. This team is being sold by a trust.
Okay? I understand. I get it. And they're still in the running.
Which means that they have to sell the team to the highest bid. They have to do what's in the best financial interest of the trust. So the trust does not care who these owners are.
Right.
They care who can actually handle the most money up front, the most money in general, and get this thing settled.
Well, but that also has to be approved through the NFL. That's just not all about the money.
The NFL owners have to all agree to the ownership, which, yes, that happens, but they're going to if somebody's paying that much up front.
You would think.
They set the parameter. Well, no, because they set the parameter that you need $2.5 billion in liquid up front. That's their parameter. This isn't Donald Trump trying to bid for the Bills or the Cowboys and getting outbid, and then him trying to get the owners to say, well, no, you should take my bid. That's not what this is.
Oh, I get it.
This isn't the Carolina Panthers situation where you had 2 ownership groups who bid more than David Tepper did for the Panthers, but the problem is they didn't have liquid capital. They were going to be rolling debt. And you can't have teams that are in debt. You can't have teams that cannot afford to exist.
Absolutely.
So you need an ownership group that can handle that. It's a finance thing. It's not an optics thing. So would the NFL love for Robert Smith to be the highest bidder? Of course they would. will Robert Smith be the highest bidder? Because you have to get through the trust and then the NFL. That's the whole thing. You have to meet two separate parameters here. It's not like the trust of the Broncos can be like, well, I don't know about this whole BET guy. Like they can't do that. They have to be like, oh well, he's putting down $3 billion up front liquid. We got to take him. And the NFL goes, he's putting down $3 billion up because you know what that money's for? It gets spread.
Oh no, there's no question. Yep, I know exactly where that money goes. But
like everybody else profits.
I get it, but you also you do, and you're right about the trust, and that's going to have to be something where people have to be educated when and if it goes not in the way that they would like it to go, whether that's Smith or Byron Allen, whatever the case may be, because you know what the first things that are going to be said about that situation if Manning's group or Elway's group comes up in front. Forget about the money portion of it. Then you also, would you like someone with some NFL experience to own that team as well? That comes within it, of course. So there's a lot of things to talk about, but you know what could end up happening, good, bad, or indifferent, right or wrong, they will be talking about that issue regarding the ownership of being, and as far as the race is concerned, and that'll be amongst the people who are really, really hoping that it could be a Byron Allen or Robert Smith. But the knee-jerk reaction is they don't know what you just let everybody know about, and they'll just see it as a one thing. It'll be about race. And so there's a lot of things that fans and people should be educated to. But I will also tell you that the NFL is hoping to death that it's either Byron Allen or Robert Smith, either one, so they can alleviate a little bit of what's going on regarding ownership within the NFL.
Because there's that whole thing of this coaching cycle, underrepresented, and it's like, well, like there were certain situations as to why that happened. Like everybody wants to ignore, wants to think that like this, like that I'm only looking at the white coaches. Well, that's not what happened. The Giants hired the assistant GM from the Bills.
Right.
Who was the most logical choice to get hired as the head coach then?
Well, no question. That goes to friendship. That goes to the Matt Nagy getting hired over in Kansas City because of friendships and things of that sort as well.
The New Orleans Saints and Sean Payton's closing press conference anointed Dennis Allen as who he'd want to be his successor. Well, golly gee, I wonder why Dennis Allen got the job. Byron Leftwich had the Jaguars job. It was his. But he tried to get Trent Baalke fired to get it, and Sean Khan's like, I don't know about that. Like by the way, a minority owner. Everybody forgets Sean Khan's not a white guy. A minority owner.
This guy hadn't forgot about it, obviously, with my ties to them. You're right.
He doesn't count though. And that, by the way, that's what pissed me off more than anything with the Brian Flores lawsuit. He doesn't want to count anybody who's not just like him. Like Robert Saleh doesn't count as an African American, but he's not a white guy. Yeah. Like Robert Saleh isn't even Christian.
Yeah.
So he fits like all the holy crap, this is not the norm demographics, but he gets ignored in the Brian Flores lawsuit and gets lumped into the white guy thing. It's a very annoying debate. But anyways, so I understand there's these outside pressures on the NFL from from a very vocal group of the public who for some reason seem to feel that these things should just happen. Don't worry about the money or the business of it or whether somebody's actually good at their job or any of these other things. I'm aware of that. I get it. I'm here to tell you those people are wrong. You pick the owner who puts in the highest bid. You pick the coach that you feel can put you in the best situation to succeed. You already have a pre-existing relationship with. You already know how it's going to work. Things of that nature. That's how. Is anybody mad at the Raiders for hiring Josh McDaniels?
Well, and not just Josh McDaniels, the other dude that got hired.
You have Mike McDaniel from Miami. He's technically he's biracial. His dad was an NFL running back.
Right.
But everybody goes, well, he doesn't look black, so it doesn't count. And it's like, what are we doing here? Like Mike McDaniel now gets told he doesn't matter. You wonder why people who are biracial are so upset with both sides of the party.
Absolutely, and that is a good point because that part is not being represented. Represented. You're right. It is about. It just seems right now it's about pigment more so than anything. Yeah.
And
So
that's
I get what you're
frustrating.
saying.
It's incredibly frustrating to me, especially
So
coming from. I just came from an extremely diverse workplace, and for people to be like, "Well, it's all about," and it's like, but it's not. Like, we just want the best people, and sometimes nepotism happens all the time. Nepotism happens, and nepotism isn't just I'm hiring my son, I'm hiring my friend. You know what I mean. So like, it
yeah,
just creates situations that aggravate you. But like at the end of the day, like that's just
that's the
how it
way it is.
works.
That's the way it
Yeah.
is at the end of the day. You're right. So
I mean, why did Herm Edwards hire Marvin Lewis at Arizona State? Because he was qualified to be an assistant coach at a college level? No. Marvin Lewis hadn't been in college in 40 years. He hired him because he was friends with him.
at least 16 because that's how long he seemed to be the coach of the
Right?
side,
So yeah, I mean, no, I mean, look, I wanted Byron to get a head coaching job mainly because I wanted him out of Tampa. And I was really hoping the Jaguars would hire him, mainly because I thought it'd be good PR.
It was Peterson. The other one that no one's really questioning is Peterson because of the pedigree of where he comes from.
Yeah, Super Bowl winning coach. The Jaguars were like, well, we can't hire Byron. Let's hire, I don't know, that guy who won a Super Bowl recently. And nobody seems to think he's a bad coach. He just got caught up in a bad situation.
Absolutely. So that having been said, of course, that's the name of the show. Lots of things that I want to roll through since I got the man, the myth that he is. And let's roll to this. Interestingly enough, look at this. I found this, and I look around for lots of things to talk about. But the one I find really interesting is the 2016. Both guys right now getting a lot of heat. Forget about Deshaun Watson. That's a whole total different story. But when you go to 2016, you're talking about two guys. One, obviously, Jared Goff, who had took the Rams to the Super Bowl. And then you got Carson Wentz with all the quote-unquote potential in the world to lead a team. And then, of course, you got Ryan Tannehill that they retread. And for 2 years, he was great. Last year, mediocre at best, but still got him within the playoffs and weren't able to do what they needed to do in order to get the victory. But these guys, look at number one, Josh Allen. Right now, people are talking, and I've been reading. I don't necessarily agree. Josh Allen, the best quarterback in the NFL right now, even above Patrick Mahomes, which I don't necessarily think it is, but that's what people have been reporting and thinking. Then you do have the Deshaun Watson situation. The Deshaun Watson situation is a very interesting placement of where it is as far as timing is concerned. Call me conspiracy theory all day long, but the money he was getting paid was earmarked for those girls that were right. So and that is the reason why they did, because I think Deshaun Watson is going to be the quarterback for the Houston Texans next year.
I don't think Deshaun Watson plays a snap for the Houston Texans ever again.
Say again?
I don't think Watson plays a single snap for the Texans ever again. I think he's in Houston.
Well, he's under contract.
Doesn't mean they have to pay. Doesn't mean they have to play him. We found that out last year.
That's a good point. But man, I don't know if I'm popping out. How much is that guy getting paid? I forget what it is.
40.
They're paying him $40 million to sit on. No, that's something that he's going to be in there. That's just me, but it is what it is. But I will say this: as I look around and I see, I wouldn't be surprised if he's there. Because money will do a lot of talking. Even though it's probably the right thing not to do that, but to get rid of them. But Miami just recently, as last week, has closed the door on that idea. So you don't have the Miami Dolphins with that idea. What other team is going to take a risk on this guy? What other team will take the risk of the off-the-field problems that he brings? And if they do, how are they going to get that within a contract to where they're not going to take the short end of the stick as well? I mean, Houston's got to take the short end of the stick regardless. They're going to eat a lot of this. Yeah. But the new team he goes to, there's got to be I mean, if I'm thinking about bringing this guy in and the monies that we're talking about, I want some guarantees up on the other side of it. So how do you think it works? I mean, or does it?
Oh, I mean, it does. Remember when Ben Roethlisberger wrecked his motorcycle?
I do remember that.
The Steelers put in a clause in his contract afterwards.
Yep,
saying,
no motorcycles.
Right, and same thing with Kellen Winslow. When Kellen Winslow wrecked his motorcycle,
Yeah, he was a motorcycle guy too.
so
He's in jail, by the way, isn't he?
Yes, he's had a very eventful post NFL career.
Yeah.
So teams automatically can put in morality clauses and restrictors on your outside activities, such as riding a motorcycle, dangerous activities, as they like to call it.
Can they put it, if you get your ass thrown into the slam, we ain't paying you, and we're not eating some of this?
Morality clause. Now, here's the thing with Deshaun Watson. Everything he's facing is a civil suit.
Right.
There's no jail time.
Got it. All right.
So, like, at this point, and hopefully at some point, the state of Texas, mainly the city of Houston, will want to finalize that whole situation. Because obviously that's gone on way too long.
Oh God,
there's
I
no
agree.
need,
fully agree.
From a state standpoint, from a city standpoint, from a team standpoint,
From
the plaintiff or defendant,
attorney who keeps getting paid too.
Right, like so everybody kind of wants this to be done. Obviously, Deshaun thinks that he's going to be vindicated at the end of this. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Because he refuses to settle. So, so we'll see how this whole thing shakes out. I just at this point, I don't know when Deshaun's going to step on a football field again.
I agree, and I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be this year. I really don't.
Yeah, and that's the fear, right? Because at that point, then you're trying to trade a guy who has no value because he's taking 2 years
at
off.
least for the 2022 season. Yes.
So you're stuck with them. I think they could still trade him now, but if they can't trade him before this season, what are you going to get?
Well, and do you sooner or later just release him? And that's something they're going to have to make.
His entire contract is guaranteed.
I get it. I completely get it. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, at some point, can you fill the roster spot or something? I don't know. It's just like, I mean, this guy is the worst. You know what this guy is? He is the worst mother-in-law in the world ever. In reality, because he's going to screw up a marriage. That's what's going to. So he's going to screw up the Texans here, and it's bad enough as it is. So Sean Watts, always a big story. We'll figure that out as time goes by. That's like, in reality, it's like sands through the hourglass for him. So it's a long story. It's a long soap opera. But in the NFL, there's some guys out there that are looking to get paid. And let's look at him at the wide receiver position. Obviously, Devontae Adams. You want to talk about a soap opera. I mean, this guy's caught up into Green Bay, caught up into Aaron Rodgers. He is a free agent. He's a notable Willie Gosamo. Odell Beckham Jr., he's not even going to see the field for most of the season after the injury. So he's going to be a late pickup probably someplace. But Chris Godwin, that guy's gone. Without Tom Brady, that guy's going to be gone. Allen Robinson, yet again, is going to be on the free agent market. And the Mike Williams from the Charger, and the one guy that's getting no RESPECT. And I don't know right or wrong. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think about Juju as far as his possibilities of being on a good football team someplace else?
I mean, Juju had to settle for a 1-year deal last year.
I know. So how much could he? And that's why they had them on the top notables. I don't know if I even think of Juju as notable. I think that was my argument more than anything. Yeah. Is he notable, or is he worth even talking about? Because I'll tell you right now, I think this guy right here should be more notable, because this guy can bring you a lot of things within the slot where most teams really lack. And this guy's a stud. I won't get onto the COVID stuff because I don't care about that. Never mind the fact the NFL lifted it, so it's all irrelevant. This guy here is a stud. You say whatever you want about Cole Beasley. He gets some results. Obviously, didn't get into the end zone this year, had some injuries and the COVID situation. But the couple of years before that, you're talking about a productive guy. I think he should get more talk and be more notable than Juju as far as the wide receivers position is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like Cole Beasley when he was in Dallas.
Absolutely.
I thought he was a very
They
productive.
didn't give him the money. He went for the money, and hey, congratulations, he got all of it too. By the way, so congratulations. That was a great contract for him.
I mean, we'll have to see. I like Cole. I think a good team would benefit from bringing in Cole.
Actually, if you need a slot, man, need a slot, man, geez. Could you imagine? There are some teams out there that need a slot, a guy that you just don't depend upon the outside. You need someone that can offset it. And you forget about Cole Beasley. That dude, first of all, he's quick. Second of all, he's got the moves like Jagger. I'm telling you, yeah. I mean, this guy, I think, is a guy that you've got to give some consideration. And if you want him, you're going to have to give him an extra $1 million than what the market's going to call, because he'll go where the money goes. But at the same time, he's made a lot of money, so who knows necessarily if he will go to the highest bidder? Will he go more towards Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I feel like a veteran team. A contending team will be more interested in Cole than the most. Look, I think Juju is a number 2 receiver at best.
At best. And on some teams, he's probably number 3.
I like Mike Williams a lot. I liked Mike Williams a lot.
Love me some Mike Williams, and notice how he's a guy without a Pro Bowl. I mean, which, by the way, is complete shocking to me, but that is what it is. I don't do the voting or anything, but within the last 3 years, that guy should have been a Pro Bowler at some point.
I mean, Robinson and Godwin were both tagged last year, and then the Bears decided, what if we don't throw it to Allen Robinson? Almost like the Bears were trying to suppress his value.
No question.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, a team that really dropped the ball on that in reality was the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens should have went after Allen Robinson big time. And they got the opportunity yet to do it again. They dropped the ball on this one. Listen, the Baltimore Ravens, we're talking AFC Championship. If they get a quality guy that they can have every once in a while for Lamar Jackson to throw to, okay, instead of him having to use his legs, without him having to do something spectacular. Get him a regular guy that can make plays. And I think Allen Robinson could be that guy. And that should be their number 1 priority going off here in this offseason, is to get a guy that is compatible enough with Lamar Jackson to help Lamar Jackson be a better quarterback. Not an athlete, but a better quarterback, because he's a great athlete. He's a superstar, but he's an athlete. His lacks in quarterback, and say whatever you want about it. Yes, he threw for more yards this year. Congratulations. They need to build on that so they can prepare to be a big force within the AFC, because you still have the Kansas City Chiefs to get around. And say whatever you want. There are a lot of teams in the AFC that they're going to have to battle just within their own division to get out of the division to go, depending on what's going to happen with the Bengals and as well as the Steelers.
Yeah, but they can't afford Allen Robinson. They only have $5 million in cap space.
Allen Robinson's going to demand at least 18 to 20.
Yeah, I mean, I think Robinson and Godwin are going to get about the same contracts.
Yeah,
obviously, I like Chris Godwin a lot. And I think his time in Tampa's done. The Bucs.
Oh, I think so too. He stayed for the ring. Listen, and there's something to be said about that. That's ballsy, because that guy had many opportunities to make some big time money, and he decided to stay with. Well, who wouldn't?
He got tagged.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he didn't have a choice. He got tagged, and you got to play under the tag. He didn't have a choice,
but if he went to management and said, "Listen, this is not just going to work," I mean, he could have made that a lot worse than what he actually did. He was very cooperative regarding that, because that could have got worse.
So I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, Devontae Adams' big thing is he wants to play with Aaron Rodgers still. So
that's a big one, because the whole situation is Will he stay with Aaron Rodgers? Will he, stay in Green Bay? Will they tag him? And if they tag him, how happy is he going to be if they don't have Aaron Rodgers there? What are they going to do to replace him? Because let's be honest, Jordan Love, listen, I can go out there and do what Jordan Love does, okay? Listen, this guy, nothing to write home to mama about, but that guy right there needs a quality guy throwing him the football. And I think the Green Bay Packers are going to have to figure out something to make this guy happy in order, whether or not you force him to stay, you better make this guy happy somehow.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a top 5 receiver in the NFL, somebody who's just, he changes games.
Yep.
So, we'll see what Green Bay is able to do. Obviously, they're going to have to get somewhat creative.
Well, Aaron Rodgers changes games too. I mean, obviously, don't get you to the playoff, get you too far in the playoffs, but he is a change maker. I mean, and will they go ahead and did they tagged him last year, didn't they? Or was it into that contract?
I think last year was his last year of the deal.
Okay, so they have the opportunity to tag him this year, and it won't be the second one. So
yeah,
and that's where the Bears are. They're in the second year of a tag, and the third one is when it gets out of hand. So they're going to have to figure out something to do with Allen Robinson. But at the same time, looking at it on the other side, when you got a Devontae Adams doing what he has been able to do, granted, I think he could do it with any quarterback, but you also got to be able to get a guy that can deliver the ball. Interestingly enough, I've been hearing, I heard this one and it just piqued my interest. I didn't see, because I don't know the cap space. Minnesota, I heard Minnesota was in the yapping of trying to get them, put him and Jeffers, oh my God, could you imagine? And then maybe Kirk Cousins can look like a real quarterback, because we all know he's not. If you give him weapons, 2 big weapons, choice of getting in, never mind if you pull him in to, get a slot guy. But, man, could you imagine that? Not only that, within the division, geez, what a great story.
I mean, so Minnesota's 15 over the cap.
I did not necessarily know they were, is that mostly because of, their quarterback position?
Yeah, Kirk is a $45 million cap.
He's a big hit. He's a big hit.
That's why they're debating trading him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. But at the same time, oh my gosh, Minnesota, they got a great running game going on. They got a great wide receiver. They're gonna have to bring someone in. They might be a victim of their own their team. They might have to suck this up and figure it out some other way. I don't know.
Well, so I have an idea.
Okay.
I'm prone to these things from time to time.
Okay.
The smartest thing Minnesota can do is trade Kirk Cousins.
Yes, and that's because of obviously cap space and everything else. Mainly dead cap is huge too on that.
And then you trade for Jimmy G.
Wow.
You lower your cap hit by a significant amount, and you replace one quarterback with somebody who is comparable. Yeah,
it's almost the same guy in reality, because he's going to demand a lot of money regardless of what the situation is. But you can get away with paying him less because of all the talk and what the real value could be. So they actually gain in reality, as far as that's concerned. That's an interesting. And listen, I'm loving the sounds of that, because I don't know what it is about Jimmy G. Maybe it's just because this guy is Hollywood. I mean, this guy
is a winner.
This guy looks like, and not only that,
I'm going to say, you like him, Sonny, he wins.
Exactly.
He wins.
But he doesn't win the game. He doesn't win the big one everybody talking about. But then again, neither does Aaron Rodgers. So, I get exactly what you're talking about. And Jimmy G said whatever you want about him. His winning percentage is up there. His yards up there. He is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, I just said it. And the numbers don't make me a liar. All right, so that being said, obviously he was the second best one in the NFC West there, Mr. Bryce. It's the only thing I can hold over Bryce's head is to say I had that right. But Jimmy G, he is the guy. He's a dynamic dude in reality. Now, whether or not that he can get him up and over the hurdles to get them into the situation where they can be back in the Super Bowl. But I'll tell you right now, that is a great place in reality for him because of the running game. It'll open up the passing game, and Jeffers might even get more yards this year, depending on what the situation is with the running game.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Minnesota, I would look to be the aggressor in this one. Make a move, send Cousins out, and then I would look to acquire Jimmy G.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. They're not a very good football team.
No, they're not good.
They have a lot of
They
problems.
need some defensive help, big time.
So the question is, do you trade Kirk, eat the short-term hit of this year,
Okay.
go get a quarterback next year, spend this draft and the cap space that you have on beefing up that defense? Because look, I'm a big believer. This is me. I'm a big believer in that you build your team and then you get your quarterback. Because a quarterback by himself can't do it. He can't, right? So like,
just ask Philadelphia about that.
Right? So like, if you're Minnesota, is it worth taking the hit in 2022 and rolling out your second round pick quarterback last year as the starter this year, see what he can do, and take all your assets and put them into the offensive line?
Yeah, but doesn't that
defense?
take Jimmy G out of the equation, though?
It would, but it would open them up to one of the rookie quarterbacks next year.
I get it. Within your scenario of quarterback class.
You wind up playing the long game, not the short game.
Got it.
The short game is trade Kirk, get Jimmy. The long game is eat it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and just take a year off, build your roster out, and then go get your quarterback next year.
How much is Minnesota over? How much?
15.
That's a good number. Anyway, it's a Baker number, man. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's a Baker number. I mean, if I don't know.
Oh God.
Baker Mayfield. Now, saving one of the best for last. I mean, we talked about this. This report actually came out from two good sources. This one came out from Chris Mortensen, which I'll listen to Mort before I listen to Schefter, even though Schefter is in there. Yeah. This is coming from Mort, okay? They're going to make him play out the fight. So the question that every guy, as far as looking at who he is and what he is, but where is Baker Mayfield's mentality as far as playing up under these conditions? Because let's be honest, I don't think Baker Mayfield in reality honestly thinks that the Browns believe in him. Because obviously, if you believe in your quarterback, they would have done something here, extended the contract, not made this a public statement. Because that's a public statement and go, well, if he can maybe throw for 4,000 yards and 20 or 35 touchdowns and get us into deep run into the playoffs, maybe we will sign him. That's what that is. That's not, we need Baker in order for our future to be better and everything else is running. So there's two different messages that are not being delivered within the fact of that statement.
So here's the thing with Baker. For those who don't know, Baker was a really fun college story, and there's multiple reasons why.
Well, number one, he shouldn't have went number one within the draft when he was drafted.
Baker was a walk-on at Texas Tech. He
transferred to Oklahoma.
He had offers to go to Washington State and Florida Atlantic. Decided that he didn't really like either one of those. He wanted to stay close to home. He walked on at Texas Tech. He wound up getting the starting job at Texas Tech because of injuries.
Right.
And played extremely well. Yep. And when Davis Webb, and there's a callback name, when Davis Webb came back from injury, Cliff Kingsbury decided to bench Baker and put in Davis Webb. So Baker, already under the whole nobody believes in me, became a starter, gets benched because of nothing he did wrong. So now he transfers to Oklahoma, not only to shove it to Tech, right?
Pretty much.
But also, like,
they beat him in that. They beat him in that. Oh, no, that's Texas. We're not to take away from that. All right.
So Baker's out here like, I'm going to prove that I'm better. So he goes to Oklahoma, wins a starting job, wins the Heisman. Nobody believes in him. He's too short. He's through this. He's through
Number
that.
one draft pick.
Number one draft pick. Well, now
Overall.
he's in Cleveland. Oh, he's not going to be that good. He's in Cleveland. Gets him to the playoffs. They're weird ass.
Well, after how many years, though?
3.
3. Okay.
And that was a bad team. It's a bad organization, right?
There's no question.
Right. So like they built the team around Baker. Baker gets him. And again, Baker's throwing shoulder was hurt last year. Like I want to stress that enough. Like the fact that he gutted it out, I respect, but at the same time, I look at the Browns. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you having him play with this injury? That doesn't make sense. But it's kind of like the Bucs.
Well,
it's kind of like the Bucs making Jameis play with a broken hand, and then being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he played poorly." You're like,
okay, Jonathan, you know why they did that? Come on.
Well, they thought injured Baker was better than whatever the backup is. I get
it. And or could he perform with the injury as well? They wanted to see if they could get that out of him in reality.
Yeah, and that to me that's asinine. Like he's hurt.
I think it is too, but at the same time, there's a lot of pressure. Pressure of really, and the pressure is they have put themselves in a position where people are actually respecting the Cleveland Browns, where they're going, how they're winning games and things of that sort, because I bet many times against Baker and he made me end up eating those damn games, which pissed me off more than anything. But, say whatever you want, and this is what you were talking about as far as the injuries and things of that sort, but regardless of the injuries, regardless of anything, those numbers right there are pathetic. And he is a part of those numbers, regardless if you think it's right, wrong, or different.
But look at that last stat.
Okay.
That means receivers aren't separating. That's a receiver problem.
Well, wait. Yes,
which
and
tells
no.
me that everybody's at fault here.
I yes and no. But at the same time, you got superstars after the third, fourth year quarterbacks that will make those throws and be successful with those throws. I knew you were going to say something about that stat, but you also got to have a quarterback that's willing to deliver that. And that's where I think Baker Mayfield falls short. I think he falls short of not making the play because he's afraid of making a bad throw. And I think that's where he is as far as where he is in his career. And that's another reason why they don't want to, throw down how many million that they would put into an extension to this guy if he's going to have another year, regardless of injury or whatever the case may be. Because let's be honest, injury or not, if they're not going to get any kind of success at the quarterback position, he's not going to be there in 2024 or 23-24. He won't. He just won't be there.
Who was the last quarterback in this situation to play out their contract?
Say that one more time.
So who was the last quarterback in a situation similar to this,
played out their contract for a new contract or 6th year? Because there are many on the 5th year, but this would be a 6th.
Let's go 4. Who played it out, bet on himself and won? There's
many players that have done that.
No, it's Dak. Dak is the most recent quarterback who have bet on him, who was told by the team, I don't know what your value is. He goes out, balls out, gets a massive extension.
Hold on a second. Dak Prescott was going to get more money in the open market than Baker Mayfield was, so it didn't matter. And he was going to get the $42 million he wanted. He knew that. He's not stupid. Not only that, his agent knew that, but Baker Mayfield isn't going to get a call for $42 million, regardless if you're going to quote unquote bet on him. Do you think
Baker gets to bet on himself here? And if he doesn't play well, then that's on you. But if he does, like most guys do in contract years, guys in contract years play to weird levels all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, if Baker plays well, then the Browns are held over.
What does play well mean in your book in reality? Just kind of thinking about the numbers where they are. Is 35 enough? Is 3,500 yards enough with 25 touchdowns?
Don't care. Don't care.
It's all about results on where they'll be at the end of the season.
It's all about winning.
Okay. All right.
I mean, at the end of the day, all right, you can look at Jimmy G and be like, wow, he looked terrible in the playoffs. Did he really do much of anything? but they won 2
That's a
games.
very good point. That's a very good point.
Like,
And
what's
not
the,
only that,
what's
Jimmy
the
G
difference between
probably
those
is
two?
going to get at least 30 million wherever he goes. So
Right, yeah, like what's the difference between Jimmy and Baker? One of them has been on a better franchise, a better team, and has won more games, right? That's the main difference. Because
mhm.
stylistically, they both play very similar.
Right, but at the same time, they have the same criticism is they can't win the big game. Both of them do.
Right. Which I mean, Dan Marino did too. So
yeah,
like I'm not concerned
and
about
that's
that.
a good point too. You look at Dan Marino, but obviously different era, but same point, same results.
All I'm looking for is an above average quarterback. You can build around an above average.
Now that's not what most teams are looking for, though. In reality, Jonathan,
Well,
right?
I'm aware of that, but
Even
how
admit
many
that, right?
how many great quarterbacks are in the NFL? I mean, truly great quarterbacks. It's a very small
Well,
group.
right now, yes, but back in the, depending on what you're talking about, which era, because we are moving out of an era of the great quarterbacks. There is no question.
Are we?
Obviously, you got to look at eras and yardage and things of that sort and how great they are. But bringing home the gold, bringing home AFC and NFC championship games, getting to the Super Bowl and things of that sort. You're right. That part.
Are we
you're right.
leaving an era or are we just entering a new one? Because everybody does that
Yeah,
whole
well,
we're
and
leaving an
that's the
era.
point. Well, all you got to do is look at Dak. You look at Lamar Jackson. You look at
Right.
even Baker Mayfield to a certain extent, and Josh Allen. We're talking about guys that can run 35 to 40% of the time if they have to. And normal traditional thinking quarterback is pocket passer, run
Right.
when you gotta. More so than maybe we will create a play that will make that running hole open up in case he can't get the ball down the field, which is what Cliff Kingsbury is supposedly good at doing, which he hasn't proved it to me. But at the same time, you're right. Different eras coming up there because I can look at quarterbacks this year, and look at the guys that are coming in from guys where we're saying goodbye to Drew Brees, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying goodbye to Tom Brady, saying goodbye to some of the biggest names at the quarterback position the NFL has ever seen. Now you got guys that have got to go fill those feet, and how they fill it is going to be a huge thing, and what type of quarterback a certain franchise wants to represent their team. See, Baltimore has gone on the, we don't mind a running quarterback. So you got to convince ownership and convince general managers that a possible running quarterback is something that we have to do. Look at the young kid that's come. Where's he coming out of? He's coming out of Liberty. This young kid that is running quarterback. I know you don't, and I agree with you. But listen, he's going to be drafted in the first round. There's no question he is. But which team is going to take on the fact that you are now switching your team from a traditional pocket passing quarterback team and a different method of coaching to move into this new era of football and new era of, let's be honest, new era of quarterbacks in reality, which I never thought we'd get to this point in reality where we got about 5 or 6 teams that have that quarterback.
Yeah, but like we talk about running quarterbacks and but like there's running quarterbacks and there's mobile quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is mobile. Patrick Mahomes is mobile. Can Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers take off and pick up 15 with their legs? Sure. Do they? No. They look to throw the football, right? I mean, look.
That's the last ditch effort, more so than a play is designed to do that, because that's what's going on in Arizona and in Baltimore. They got plays to where it's they are really kind of looking to pass it, but the holes that will be opened up based upon the scheme is what's the second portion of it that will make Lamar Jackson better. But he will say, well, I know that's going to be there. I'm going that way. We'll make it look good, but I'm going that way.
But we're talking about the next era. I mean, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. They're all right here. Yep. They're all right now. Like, we're just transitioning from Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Without question. We're seeing the downfall.
It's just transition. Like, there's always going to be, at least 5 great quarterbacks in the NFL. At its peak, maybe 10. But usually that number is going to sit somewhere between 5 and 10.
Well, greatness there'll be about 5 or 6, but guys that are capable of going and taking a team to a Super Bowl.
I mean, Matt Stafford was an above average quarterback until he won a ring, and everybody's like, "Well, now he's great," and it's like, maybe Matt Stafford's always been great. He just always hasn't been on good teams.
Well, everybody in Texas Tech will say that. So, but yes.
You know, there's always that point of it, right? Like maybe there are really good quarterbacks on suspect teams. Like Dan Fouts is a great quarterback who's always on Chargers teams, not good enough, right?
That's a great example.
So, there's always the guys who get overlooked from that standpoint. So it's just the next era. I'm not concerned. I mean, I remember 5 years ago. Oh my God, I'm really worried about the state of quarterback play in the NFL. And 5 years ago, I'm like, it's fine.
Right.
Everybody relax. Guys will come. It will happen. And then we got Mahomes and we got Watson and we got Burrow and we got Dak. And everybody's like, oh, well, the NFL's quarterbacks are good again. It's like they were never bad.
They were always good. It just took time for a transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of started with Drew Brees when that finally came to pass. But
Drew Brees was good in San Diego.
Everybody
forgets that.
There's no question.
I mean, look, the Chargers wanted to move on from him because the GM was a jackass. But if Drew Brees never tears up his shoulder, we never have to hear this redemption story. It would have just been Drew moves to a better organization and kept playing great, and he won. That's mainly the thing there. And there are a lot of quarterbacks who are suppressed because they have great running backs with them. Because now you're actually 50-50 in your play calling, not 60-40, right? So there are teams that will have a suppressed value of their quarterback until you realize, they can actually do this all by themselves.
Well, wasn't Eli Manning drafted by the Chargers before he went to New York? Wasn't
Eli and Phillip were the same draft. The Chargers drafted Eli, flipped them for Phillip.
Got it. And that's another example of GMs and the nonsense that was going on at that time. But a part of that was Eli Manning saying, "I ain't playing for these fools." It's, I don't know, good, better, and different. He's got
a great move by the Chargers. They got three. They got
I agree because what they got for it was probably the right thing. So now that being said as well, some other things to really quick look at. I saw this and I thought, oh my gosh, think of this. Look at these numbers. And just this past year of what Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor has done for the last 2 years. And obviously Jonathan Taylor is, kind of at the top of a lot of this, kind of a mixture in reality. The attempts, you would think, with Henry being down, he'd be up there. No. The actual rushing yards. And this, could you imagine these numbers if Derrick Henry was in the lineup for 9 more games, how much higher they would be right now, whether it's 27 touchdowns, yards per game, whatever. Derrick Henry, but I'll tell you right now, having a guy like Jonathan Taylor as a running back number 2, the second best quarterback, that's no slouch. That guy can play. In reality, Indianapolis now with what they're talking about at the quarterback position and moving on from Carson Wentz and things of that sort. That's a Jim Irsay. That guy's always talking. But will the talk regain and go into action? Jimmy G's another team that was actually vying for his services as well. And so, interestingly enough, what do you think about the Indianapolis team, where they are and what is going on with them right now?
I mean, look, they have a good roster. Obviously, like any team, that they can stand to benefit at certain positions, right?
Right.
The Colts could really use a number 2 receiver, or even a number 1, and maybe Michael Pittman's a number 2. Either way, Carson Wentz was an issue. He was a serious problem. Obviously their defense was injured by the end of the year. So there were issues there. Darius Leonard fighting an injury all year. DeForest Buckner gets injured at the end of the year. Things of that nature. So I mean, look, the Colts could use a new quarterback. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
Especially if they want to go to the next level, because Carson Wentz has not played well since he tore his ACL.
No question.
That is a fact of life. He has not been able to recover from that. I don't know where you go from here.
Well,
I don't. Like, what do you do? Like if you're the Colts, you gave up a first round pick for this guy just so that he could
for one
really
year.
just screw it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so. I mean, look, you have a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. You have a good weapon in Michael Pittman. You have solid tight end play. You have a really good offensive line. You have a good defense. Like, get some help in the secondary.
Yep.
But like, you're sitting here looking at Carson Wentz, like, okay, like we can't keep you, but how do we replace you? Considering the draft capital we already used to get you.
Right. I think of that and I ask myself the question, this is a Jim Irsay debacle. And really, it's no great big surprise, with all the talk that's going on out there right now and everything else. You know, part of the time you're going to have to. I think what you have to do is admit that, man, you got an owner, a Jerry Jones type of dude that's he's just tripping over his jock at every moment that he gets the opportunity to do so. And he's about ready to do it here and he's about ready to do it again. And I don't know. I think here's what I'm going to tell you. I think where the Colts are, and I get you need value. I get you need the guy, but another year of Carson Wentz, maybe getting him the right coaching and helping him make the better decision or working with the injury, like you said. Because listen, that's one thing. Because when this team was going for the playoffs, they had the most momentum I've seen going into the playoffs the last 3 to 4 weeks, and all they did is drop the ball. And not all of that is on Carson Wentz. You can put some blame on him. We'll be honest here, but there is another side of the football that let them down at times as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, the whole reason they went and got Carson Wentz is because Frank Reich was his quarterback coach in Philly, and Frank Reich said, "I can fix him." Well, here we are, and we're having the same conversation again. And Jim Irsay's pissed because, and I get it, but Jim Irsay's not actually making.
Is he pissed because they didn't win, or because of what they gave up to get him? Because I don't think it's a combination of both.
I think he's pissed that they gave up a first round pick to lose on the last day of the season and miss.
So you think it's a combination of both?
I think it's the culmination of the whole. You start 1-5, lose to the Jaguars again in Jacksonville again to miss the playoffs. Yeah. I think that's the frustration. Is Jim Irsay sitting there when he's being televised? They were on HBO, right, doing an in-season Hard Knocks.
Right.
So they've got a spotlight on this team as they're on a hot streak, and everybody got to see up close in person how the Colts get the bed to end the year.
Listen. I always thought that idea of them being on Hard Knocks during the season was the biggest mistake in the world. Now, granted, some people will say, well, look at the results, look where they were at, and it didn't bother them. I got news for you. When there's extra cameras out there, that just takes away from everything that's happening on the practice field, never mind on what's happening on Sunday. So you can say whatever you want. There's still political correctness that are going out there with all those cameras that are going on. So I got news for you. It's a total different animal than as if those cameras were not there, and that's what would have benefited the Colts moving forward. Then I think it was a complete drop of the ball, but that's where I got this on Irsay as well, because he's the one that approved that kind of nonsense that was going on. So I think a lot of it is falling within the hands of Jim Irsay, whether it is having the freaking cameras in there when they're on a playoff run. That's the last thing anybody wants in there, regardless. Let's be honest. Listen, they weren't going to be giving away any tribal secrets in there or anything, but it's still the fact that they were there. It turns the culture of the locker room, the practice field, and getting ready for Sunday. It changes the whole thing, regardless of what you want to say or think. It does. Yeah, but as far as Jim Irsay, he saw the dollar signs more so than the results of getting them to the Super Bowl, and so when I'm looking at it, yes, Carson Wentz is the biggest problem. Not the biggest problem. And hell, even the defense not being. Come on, it's the Jaguars. Listen, he's a first-year quarterback. They should have ate that guy for lunch all day long. They didn't. So that being said, this all falls on this decision. It's like the domino effect. Making these decisions, domino effect, where everything ends up, and that decision was made by Jim Irsay. That's where at least that's where I put the blame. I could be right, I could be wrong, but I'm it could be either way. But where they go next year, them going into next year with Carson Wentz, I'm just gonna say it, they could do worse. But the question is, what's going to happen? Is the GM going to say, listen, or GM, Jim Irsay, whoever's making the final decision, Jim Irsay, how they're going to handle where they're going to go into next year? And I'm telling you right now, they could go in worse with Carson Wentz, but he's not going to be there next year.
Yeah, no, I don't think Carson Wentz is going to be there next year either. I think the Colts, with the amount of cap space that they do have and the amount of cap
Yeah.
space that they would free up by getting rid of Carson Wentz, they're a player for Jimmy G. They're a player for Kirk Cousins.
Anybody else?
That's I mean that's where I'd have it. I think at that point, and God, like, I'm not even sure Kirk Cousins is in play. I think
don't
they would
think
zero
either.
in on Jimmy G. I think they, because Kirk's not a winner, right?
No.
He's a regular season performer.
Right.
So you zero in.
At least Jimmy G's been in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So
Right.
yeah, the love affair of the titles, NFC Championship, NFC Championship game, Super Bowl contender, participant, all those flash words that gets Jim Irsay all excited. I think you might be right. I listen, as much as I hate to say it, and they're going to eat a lot of money. They're going to figure out Kirk Cousins to stay in Minnesota. I don't know how they're going to do it. Like you said, they're going to have to get very creative, to get that cap number figured out. If you said 15 million, I think they figure it out, because I think if you go away from they damn near made the playoffs last year. They damn near made it after having a crappy beginning of the season. They damn near made the playoffs last year, and that is with the coach that they decided to fire. So depending on what they think about as far as when they go into this season with their coach, with their quarterback, I think if there's too much change, they take away from the opportunity to get back that way. At least that's what I think, and I could be completely wrong.
No, I mean, there's also, like, we talk about this in hockey a lot, where sometimes you are just on the wrong side of things.
Yep.
And sometimes there are teams that are just there to be the bane of your existence.
I hear you.
And if you're the Minnesota Vikings, you've had to look at Aaron Rodgers for a decade plus, and he just keeps taking your soul from you. Oh, you wanted no. That's not yours, right? So, like, maybe the worst thing the Vikings did was have the misfortune of Aaron Rodgers being in Green Bay.
Absolutely. And actually, it's more than the decade, like you said. So it's
so
13 years of him being prime anyway. So there you go.
Right. Whereas, like, you look at the Colts.
Enough, Aaron Rodgers with only one Super Bowl, it's like being bitch slapped if you're the Green Bay Packers. But at the same time, see, and that's an interesting thing about the money that is everybody's talking about. You got Devontae Adams wanting his money, and he's going to get it regardless where he goes, because regardless if it's Aaron Rodgers or somebody else throwing the football, he's already when they signed Devontae Adams. Oh God, I got to admit this. When they signed Devontae Adams last time, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the Couch Potato Sports Show. Yes, we've been on a long time. And yes, I said that this was the biggest mistake that the Green Bay Packers could make. And
what?
Yes, I said it. I know. I said this was the dumbest move. But it wasn't necessarily for the team, because I was thinking more so of what the culture of the Green Bay Packers were, which is in turn, this is a publicly owned team more so than anything. So I was looking more at the money, but as the years have gone on, where the NFL teams are, where salaries are going, they actually got a bargain for Devontae Adams. Now they're going to pay for it this year, and that's going to be really interesting. Whether it's Green Bay or any other team that's going to take on, they're going to take on a great big number in reality when you're talking Devontae Adams. Do you think he stays in Green Bay? Or does it have to be the package deal with Aaron Rodgers for him to stay? And if he goes somewhere, where do you think he's headed? I think I know where he's headed, because he bought a house.
I think Aaron will get an extension, which will clear up cap money. They're going to cut Zadarius Smith and probably Randall Cobb, and And they'll go ahead and get Devontae Adams done. I
Well,
don't think
if
they're
they
going to let
can
him.
tag him. They can tag him, can't they?
They're not going to.
Oh no,
They
that
want to
number
get him locked in.
Yeah. Well,
I think it's more the security. Could they tag Devontae
yeah.
Adams? Yes. Will
That's
Devontae
the
Adams be
Green Bay
pissed?
Packers.
Yeah.
They want security of players. I
Yes.
get it. Yeah.
The Packers always think long term.
Yes.
That's why they don't go all in to win a Super Bowl. It's
Yep.
always a long term move.
Yep.
Like that's when you bring up
Short
that they're publicly
term was
owned.
really good for the Rams when they picked up that dude on the defensive side of the ball that hadn't played all year long. What was his name? Waddle?
Oh, Von Miller.
No. Well, Miller was a great one, but no, the guy that was on the street playing the defensive secondary.
Oh, Weddle.
Weddle. So yeah, so that
the man who retired.
The Green Bay Packers don't do Von Miller or a Weddle in reality when it comes down to that.
They're publicly owned. It's all about the long term play.
And that's the reason why Aaron Rodgers doesn't belong in Green Bay. Okay, I've been having this argument with my brother. Yes, should he have what everybody's talking about? Should he have what Brady has? Should Brady, all these guys? Yes, he should. But the fact that he is in Green Bay, he doesn't get that clout. He doesn't get the opportunity to whisper into Jerry's ear and say, "Yo, Jerry needs some more money." He doesn't get that, in reality in Green Bay. Or, hey, I want some say on where the team is and the direction is going. No, their answer is, Aaron, you're getting paid. Shut up and play quarterback. And frankly, I like that idea. Shut up and play football. You're the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Shut up and play football. We'll do the other stuff. You throw it to who we say you're going to throw it to. And that's putting it to Aaron Rodgers and putting him in his place. But the problem is that he's a quarterback diva, and that's the reason why we get what we get with Aaron Rodgers. Where everybody's tripping over their dick to make him happy, and I hate that. That whole thing makes me sick in reality. But he's going to get it. If he doesn't get it in Green Bay, he's going to get it someplace else. And not only that, he still gets the money.
I mean, you're also talking about Aaron Rodgers, who's sitting there with one Super Bowl ring,
right?
Going, why don't I have a handful?
Right?
Why don't I have 5 rings?
Okay.
So I understand his frustrations to a certain extent.
Well, hold on. His frustration can also come on his, because in that last playoff game, he was pathetic.
Yeah. Remember when you told me that the cold weather was why San Francisco was going to lose that game?
I know.
Weird.
Listen, I know. I know I have to eat it. I was waiting. It took only 2 months for you to get back to me about that. But yes, you're right. I was sorry. I was wrong about that. So, but that was more of a Jimmy G, more the weather. But at the same time, weather. Jimmy G hadn't played in anything less than 32 degrees. I mean, come on. I played the odds in reality of them not being able to get out of there.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, look, Aaron, Green Bay's got things to figure out at the end of the day.
Yeah, they do.
We'll see where it goes. We'll see.
We'll see, and it will. It'll be interesting to see how Green Bay looks next year. Heck, it might be really interesting to see how they look in the next 2 weeks. Everybody thinks this is being done next week. It's not going to get done next week. It might not even be the week after that. It'll be to that late date. I forget what the date is. Is it March 26th? I think. There's something like that. So it won't be done in the next 3 weeks, and then we keep getting the articles. What's he doing? This is where he's talking about. Yes, he's talking about it, but who cares? Until all that is said and done, it's the same team, same thing. Nothing has changed.
If Aaron was going to retire, he would have done it already. So at this point, it's, do the Packers trade him or not? They don't want to trade him. Okay, so what does his extension look like? That's the only question now, is what does Aaron's extension look like?
Well, and whether or not they can look at the number that Aaron's going to be throwing at him, because believe me, he's not accepting any money that they're going to be throwing, because he'll have a counter in reality. So it don't matter. It don't matter what that number is. That number's already in the head there for Aaron Rodgers and his quote unquote agent, and
Yeah.
they're either going to pay that or he's going to go someplace else. And that's the bad thing. See, they have no leverage in Green Bay over Aaron Rodgers in reality, because Aaron Rodgers is going to go and make the money wherever he's going to go, and maybe he'll go to a better team than the Green Bay Packers. So, so the NFL and the Green Bay Packers don't want him to have that much leverage, but that's where he's at. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. All right, my man. Knocked it out. Glad you made it. You're always welcome. Ride the 3-hour train or a 2-hour train or the hour train that Cuervo did. But glad to see you. Glad you were able to make it in. And we'll run through. I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about. I mean, listen, if you look, there's plenty to talk about the NFL here in the next 6 months before they kick it off in week number 1, and we figure that out. I dive into it. I had 26 slides, so I did good this week. So there you go. There you go. So that's going to do it for us here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. Jonathan, have a great week. Talk to you soon, hopefully next week. And for Cuervo, this is Sonny Clark. This is the Couch Potato Sports Show. And that being said, we'll see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.